that's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
But really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to Degen Roundtable's Book Club, episode number 55, How to Think Like a Roman Emperor by Donald Robertson. Shout out to Moonpilled Rational Optics. He's in the chats right now. This is the man who recommended this book to us. Moonpill has a shit ton of great recommendations for book club. For those of you at home who don't know who I am, hello, my name is Will Stevenson. I'm an iron worker. I travel around the United States building TV and radio towers, and in my free time, I like to talk cryptocurrency and self-improvement to degenerates such as these fine members on the panel and yourselves at home as well. Joining me tonight, I have Mr. Zenith, the Degen Roundtable's legal and government analyst. We also have Dr. Alan Chen, a good real-life friend of mine. He is a pediatric radiologist, and he's a super cool doctor over at Unplugged Health MD. He runs a YouTube channel and it helps people get out of the medical nightmare that is Western medicine. And I'm also joined by our fantastic and lovely Mrs. McGettit, the ideal team player in the making. Mrs. McGettit is our producer here on the Degen Roundtable show. She's the one that makes sure that all the things go on well in the background, making our thumbnails, clicking and doing the cameras, bringing up all your guys' chat shout outs, and taking care of all the dirty things in the background that happen so that the show can run smoothly and cleanly, and you guys don't have to see all the fluff and kerfuffle that we deal with dealing with StreamYard and getting their wacky hands off of our dirty business. So tonight we're going to be talking about Stoicism. We're going to be talking about how it applies to the life of Marcus Aurelius, and it's going to be a good one. So gentlemen, ladies, what's new and exciting with you? How are you guys doing, by the way? Dr. Chen, I see you have a fancy schmancy costume on. Mr. Zenith is giggling. I'm going to toss it to Dr. Alan Chen first. I normally toss it to Mr. Zenith, but Dr. Chen, how are you doing, sir? I see you're dressed as what I can only presume is a part of your native people's garb over there. What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm neither excited nor disappointed to be here. I'm indifferent.
Yes.
It's an external thing. Yes, I'm one with nature. That's what I am today.
That's all.
But other than that, though, this show is going to be lit.
Excellent. You caught me in the middle of a cough there. I see you're already practicing the Stoic stuff. But for real though, bro, how are you doing? What's up? You've got some good energy going on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a wonderful day, but it's neither nor pleasurable or disappointing. It's just I'm indifferent. But anyway, let's okay. This is annoying me now. No, I mean today's been an excellent day, and it's going to be much more excellent now that I'm here. This is my Virgin Book Club, and honestly, this book especially. We'll get into it later. Was very appropriately timed for me because I've had a lot of shit go on in the last 8 months that all my external thoughts on external things was out of whack all over the place, and I had no buckets to put anywhere. So this sort of wrote it all home for me. I mean, obviously things are better now, but it definitely brought home a lot of concepts. I love this book just as much as, or even more than you do, Will. It got me thinking about a lot of things and kind of how different approaches to life. Actually, that's probably the biggest thing. So I could not recommend it higher than I can now. And yeah, so we'll sort of get into it, but yeah, it was, and this is great that this is my Virgin book club, and I need to read more. That's probably one of the things that I didn't do in the last 8 months because I was so inundated with all the stuff that I'm going through. And that's something that needs to be injected into my life again. So I'm very thankful for the DGen Roundtable Book Club this time around to now get my ass going on back to reading and back to learning new things and also seeing life in a different way. So this is definitely a pleasure and a privilege to be here. And that's about it. So back to my nature.
Excellent. Well, thanks, bro. And I'm going to toss it over to Zenith. Now, Zenith is actually the guy who came up with the DGen Roundtable Book Club. He's the one that was like, hey guys, let's cover some books. Let's get some learning done. And we started off, shoot, how long have we been doing this now, Zenith? This has been like a year and a half or some stuff, right? By the way,
I want to say we started in October of 2023.
Okay. Damn, dude. Yeah, so like a year and a half. Holy smokes. But yeah, bro, like we've covered 55 book club episodes. I think 11 of those are sci-fi. And then like I think we did a couple where it was like a double or a triple covering a book or something. I don't entirely remember, but we've covered a lot of books. So shout out to you, broski, for putting this whole thing together and getting us all off. Like, I guess you didn't really get us all off our asses, but you gave us the opportunity to our own asses and do some fucking reading. So now we're consuming a fucking book a week. And I got to say, this is crazy. And I was, I drove Alan to and from work today. And on the way back, we were talking about like the Stoics. On the way there, we were both listening to the book in our own little audio setup thing, like at different chapters, different parts. So like you see all the notes in the Telegram stacking up from me and Alan. That was from the drive, both this morning and the last couple days. So it's been crazy cool, bro. But yeah, shout out to you for bringing this together and getting us all reading and giving us the opportunity to do the reading yourselves. But how are you, dude? What's new and exciting with you, Mr. Z?
Not much, just getting ready so last weekend I got snowed out of golfing. This weekend it's supposed to be like 80 degrees and I am excited because it's like it is full on springtime, almost summer. So I'm ready to go play some golf tomorrow and have a good time. Other than that, just been working, doing the usual, trying to keep up with all the craziness going on. And I've just been consuming a lot of content like crazy lately, trying to get a grasp on all the economic stuff going on. But I will say, these books are a nice departure from staring at charts all day, so they are much appreciated. And to be honest, I was kind of surprised when I was listening to this book and what I was thinking about, because I was like, this feels more like a book that I would recommend than a Will book, because I think if you want to, you can definitely go down the philosophical avenue. There are definitely ways to focus more on the applicability to your own life and how to build a mindset off of it. There's absolutely that. But I personally got a lot of enjoyment out of listening to the tales of emperors past and all the conflicts and the resolution of all that. And it gave me some interesting perspective. I will say, I think that I appreciate that I read this book at this point in my life now that I'm across the terrible 30 boundary, and I have achieved what is called the new 20s, but with just a negative debuff on you. So back in when I was at the Service Academy, I had to take a morality and philosophy class, or morals and ethics, I think it was called. And we covered a ton of different like philosophies. The point of the course wasn't to tell you like what is a correct or moral just philosophy. It was like, here are all the different philosophies over time. We want you to know these so you understand where things come from. So this book for me was something that really tied a lot of those together and kind of really drew out for me, like chronologically, like how different philosophers, especially the old guys, because I know it's very easy to think of like pretty much everything before 1000 AD as kind of just like a homogenous group, but it really goes like the Greeks, then the Romans, then we have the Dark Ages. We lose a lot of philosophy. Then we have the bubonic plagues, which leads to the Renaissance, then the Enlightenment, then Victorian era, and then modern era. So it's interesting to see how all these things intertwine, and some of them build on top of each other and others kind of like reject core philosophies. But that's the part of the book that I really got out of it.
I like it. So for the folks at home, just so you guys know, the three parts of the book that we're covering is like, I'm more of like the philosophical and like practical a practical part of life. Dr. Allen's got some stuff that he wants to talk about, like how it relates to the medical field. And then Zenith's covering the history portion. So we're knocking all three of them out of the park. And speaking of things that we're knocking out of the park, we still have to introduce our producer, Mrs. McGettit. Introduce. I don't know if I said it correctly, but I don't care. Mrs. McGettit, what's new and exciting with you? How are you doing?
Hello. I am doing just fine. It's been a long first start of the month, quite frankly. There's just been chaos everywhere. Uh, so I'm hoping that the last half will be a little bit calmer. I don't know if you all caught it, but yesterday we did one of our first, hopefully one of the first health streams that we hope to continue doing over here. So I got my bike done today, actually just before the show, because we had a lot of running around to do in the morning. So usually I would try to do it like immediately so that it's done, but today we ended up being super busy. So, but I did get it done, so I'm very happy about that. You know, looking forward to getting back on track with the bike. Other than that, it's been pretty good over here. I didn't get to finish this entire book, but I did want to still tune in. Will said he'll have some kind of generalized questions that he'll throw my way, and we'll talk about the quotes. And I do think I kind of got the concept of it at the very least, and I enjoyed what I did get to listen to. So I'm gonna go back and finish it up because for those of you who don't like to pay for Audible books like me, because I'm cheap, it is free on YouTube. I found a free version on YouTube. It's the full thing, eight hours and some minutes. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but almost 9. So I'm pretty sure it's the full thing. It sounded pretty good. It's read by the author, so I'm not sure if that's the Audible version, but yeah, it was great. I was able to 2-time it with no issues. Very easy to keep up with and follow along. So for me, anyways, I don't know if the guy does have like a little bit of an accent, so it might not be that way for everybody. But for me, it was 2x was easy, which is saying something because I usually can't do 2x. We got Zenith over here who can do these things at 3x, and somehow he still absorbs the information, and I don't know how he does it. But for me, usually 2x is like difficult, and this time it was actually pretty nice. So that's where I'm at.
There's only been a few books that I've done 3x, and unfortunately, one of them was The Changing World Order by Ray Dalio, and trying to 3x that one into my brain was almost overload. So since then, we've tried stepping it back a little bit for more enjoyment, shall we say?
For sure.
That one was like 18 or fucking.
It was 18 hours,
shit, right?
That was one of the biggest ones we've done.
Yeah, I remember I did not finish that one because I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I don't remember hardly anything about that book, but I know that you enjoyed the episode for that one, so we might have to refer to that one when we're going through. I think we did when we did our book club S tier list, our A to Z or whatever you call it. So I remember that one being pretty high on the important list and everything. Oh, freaking Agent J! You can practice listening for 3x by listening to Ben Shapiro.
About to say that.
Yeah, at normal speed. Yeah, that's true. Talking fast is both a good and a bad thing. If you want to get a lot of words out and just kind of like assail people and force them to listen to you, then you can speak fast. It's very like dominant, but it doesn't necessarily convey confidence. Speaking slowly and oh man, I totally forgot the
concisely.
Concisely, like slow, steady, concise, very stoic. Like what they kind of talk about in the book is as few words as possible, as powerful as possible, as like quick and meaningful. So yeah, Ben Shapiro will definitely. Zenith doesn't get out of bed for nothing less than a 3x. Fucking shout out to Miguel. That's freaking hilarious. Shout out to Miguel DCC from Dollar Cost Crypto. I don't get out of bed in a crypto bull market for anything less than a 3x. So that's freaking great. I like that. Okay, speaking of the chats, we've already got the chats pulled up. Mrs. Producer, let's go ahead and run through some of these here chat shout-outs if you don't mind. Starting with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics. Shout out to this gentleman, a real-life friend of mine. Met him a while back. Super cool, awesome guy. This book is a must-read for any person in pursuit of bettering their lives. I agree. It and we'll get into the why of that later, but yes, it is definitely I suppose we're kind of bearing the lead, but it's certainly a must. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got Agent J of the DGen Roundtable, our favorite great value technical analyst. What up, Kung Lao? What's going on? Dun, 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 dun.
Raiden, it's Raiden. Raiden's got the hat. Wrong hat.
Raiden hat. Could be Raiden hat. I don't know.
It's actually, by the way,
Wait.
this came from a Raiden costume. Like, we can do that another time, but this
Oh, that's
actually had a
from
Raiden
Raiden.
costume. This is where the hat came from.
I thought Raiden was like American or something. I don't know, but
He probably is. He's like the whitest of all of them. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching the Mortal Kombat movies as a kid, and those were a trip. But yes, we got
Those movies were
Kung Lao.
amazing, the
We got
original ones.
what's that?
So those movies were great, the originals.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, the second one was kind of weird, but the
Second
first
was,
one was
eh.
great. Yeah,
First
I
one was okay.
love
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first one.
That's. I actually forgot there was a second one. So
Yeah.
I
The
meant
second one
first
is
then.
forgettable.
Freaking
But anyway,
timeless.
we digress.
Anyways, next up for the chat shoutouts, we've got Moonpilled Rational Optics again. Confucius stopped in as a guest. Yes, we're going to be facing off the Eastern philosophy versus the Western philosophy. So there we are. Asian versus Latin. So it'll work out. We'll figure it out. Moonpilled Rational Optics again. I'm excited for this. Listen to this book 4 times over the years. I think that's a great amount of times to listen to this book. Even more, perhaps. I know that this one's going to be on my preventative maintenance list for sure. Like, whenever I go back and think to myself, like, oh, I got to check this shit out again and see what's going on here. Like, this book is definitely going on that list. Yes, he means Agent J means doctor instead of just regular Kung Lao. This is Dr. Kung Lao. So that's freaking
Dr.
fantastic.
Raiden. And hey, Will, just real quick on that point, I actually did not put all my notes on the Telegram channel because some of the points that I took in, I actually tried to reframe it in my own life. So I had that in a separate section. I only took the ones that were more like broader and or direct quotes from the book.
Okay.
So yeah, I applied it to my actual life, and that's why you don't see all of them. That's why I forwarded them from my second brain to here.
Yeah, I was wondering why they were all forwarded, but that makes sense now. Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't put all of them in there.
Okay, that might explain the 40 forwarded messages earlier that I saw pop up.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to put all of them in the second brain, then throw it all on the throw the ones that are appropriate on the chat. Yeah,
I agree. Shout out to Building a Second Brain, by the way, by Tiago Forte. I guess you guys should go read that book as well.
Yeah, that was another great one.
Did you have something you wanted to mention? Oh yeah, we got another chat shout out. That's right. Funny how when there's this is Agent J of the DGen Roundtable for those listening. Funny how when there's a plague or the world is going hungry, no one really gives a damn about philosophy. Am I right? Yeah, you're fucking right, dude. When the people go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you can finish up first.
Yeah, when the people are starving and they're getting chased by lions and there's droughts and famines and stuff, not a whole lot of folks have a lot of time to just sit there and think about things. So
and I want to talk about that a little bit, but let's get done with. We got one more here.
We do got one more
now.
Ooh, nice. Oh, we've also got Farmer J, aka otherwise known as Mr. Brown. Must be nice to be able to afford a bed. Yes, it is nice to be able to afford a bed. A lot of the Stoics didn't do beds. They would just sleep on the ground or sleep on pads, or they would purposefully put themselves through discomfort so that way they might be better at surviving actual real life discomfort that they don't plan on later on. That was a little bit of a part of the book. We might cover that in the history stuff, but it's good to see you, Mr. Farmer Brown. Farmer Brown is one of the gentlemen who has been doing a lot of book clubs with us. So it's good to see you, broski, in the comments. We love having you here with us. Let's see. Next up, we got Arceus. I assume the good doctor was modeling proper sun protection. Yes, it's very important.
There's no sun here.
It's very important to stay away from that nasty sun that will burn our.
Although this is very effective though it is very effective for sun protection. Probably the best one out there.
Yeah. I do like the triangle hats. Triangle hats are good. So shout out to sun protection. Shout out to Arceus, Farmer Brown, Moonpilled, Agent J, all you gentlemen and ladies that are watching us, all 13 of you guys. We freaking love each and every one of you. By the way, if you haven't already done so, check out the DGen Roundtable Telegram where we talk about book club. We talk about all sorts of super fancy fun things. There's a QR code right there underneath Dr. Allen. Other hand. Move your camera. It's camera right.
Other side.
There you go. Keep going. There you go.
No,
damn, look at that.
Yeah, it's mirrored.
You have to
for
think
you.
opposite, bro.
Yeah.
Anyways,
close enough.
slap that like button and then scan that QR code down at the bottom of the screen. That'll bring you into our Telegram, DGen Roundtable. It's t.me/DRT. Join now. I realized earlier as I was watching some of our some of our show's replay gang that the live chats do not show up after the show is done being live. So like for those of you guys that are, what's that? Yeah, we can pull them up on screen, but they can't see them in the audience.
No,
so they don't have,
There's a live chat. There's a live chat replay. I think you can only access it if you're on a browser, though. It doesn't show up on mobile.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever I was doing it wrong. I was trying to find the live chats on my computer and I couldn't do it. So perhaps I'm just technically inept or something like that. But anyways, go to t.me/DRT join now, and you guys can hop on into our DGen Roundtable Telegram. And if you want to hang out in the book club Telegram, then all you got to do is go to t.me/DGen book club, all one word, all lowercase. That's the book club that we keep all of our notes for all of these shows. It's where we talk about like which books we want to suggest next for book club, where we basically just post a whole bunch of notes for the show and do all sorts of fun little jazz and all that other stuff. So if you guys want to check out what we're doing as far as book club goes, then this is the place to go. t.me/DGen book club. So hop on in the DGen Roundtable Telegram. You get to see our beautiful faces and chat with all of our lovely audience members, and hop on over into the book club and we'll talk about books. And speaking of talking about books, turns out, guys, we got a book club to cover. So I'm going to hop right on into the synopsis of what this book is all about. So, Summary of How to Think Like a Roman Emperor by Donald Robertson. So How to Think Like a Roman Emperor by Donald Robertson is kind of like a blend of philosophy and like biology, and then also a little bit of history and everything. It wasn't written exactly like by Marcus Aurelius. A lot of the stuff in this book is pulled from what's it Meditations, I think. Meditations by Marcus
and his
Aurelius.
letters too. Yeah.
And his letters to people. Yeah. So anyways, so this book explores the life of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, to illustrate how Stoic principles can be applied to modern life. The book traces Marcus' journey from childhood to his reign, weaving in key events like his adoption by Antonius Pius, his struggles with health, and his leadership during wars and the Antonine Plague. That's what it was, the Antonine Plague. Each chapter pairs a phrase of Marcus' life with a Stoic concept, such as managing emotions, facing mortality, or practicing virtue, offering readers actionable techniques like cognitive distancing, premeditation of adversity, and contemplation of the present moment. Robertson emphasizes that Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions, but about transforming them through reason. A thought on that. It's definitely not about suppressing emotions. A big misconstruction, whatever the hell. A big misunderstanding that people have about Stoicism is like, oh, no emotions, you're just a fucking rock. That's not how Stoicism works. Stoics, they experience emotions just like everyone else, and they embrace the emotion, but they don't necessarily let the emotion run their decision-making process. The purpose of Stoicism is to be like, I recognize this emotion's happening, I'm going to experience it, and then I'm going to take the useful information out of this emotional process, and I'm going to apply that to my decision making. So like, if you're being chased by a bear, then your emotion of fear, it's pretty relevant, and you run from the bear. If you find yourself in some stressful situation, like your car flips over or something like that, like you don't want to like just fucking panic and start moving around. It's like, no, I got to unbuckle my seatbelt. I got to make sure I pull my kid out of his little car seat or whatever the hell. I got to get to safety, do these other logical and reasonable things to solve the problem, while recognizing that the emotions are still going to happen. There's another part in the book that we'll cover later about that, but anyways, it's not about Stoicism is not about suppressing emotion. It's about taking the emotion and then applying, like recognizing it, going through it, and then taking the valuable stuff out of the emotion and taking the valueless stuff. Like you take the valuable and the stuff that's not valuable, and you separate the two, and you use the stuff that's good, you disregard the stuff that's bad. So that's what it's all about. And the main idea is focus on what's in your control and live virtuously in order to achieve inner peace. So the book serves as both a historical narrative and a guide to resilience, encouraging readers to adopt Marcus' disciplined mindset to navigate life's challenges with wisdom and equanimity. So there's a bunch of chapters for this book. So I'll just kind of cover over the basic idea, because I don't know if ChatGPT gave me the literal chapters of the book, but in the beginning, they talk about the dead emperor, where they talk about Marcus' death and how that introduces his Stoic legacy. We learn to contemplate, my goodness, morality to live purposefully. And then it starts talking, and then it like kind of reverses in time. It goes through Marcus's youth and education and how that's shaped his Stoic values. Humility and learning from mentors are the focus there. Then it goes through the young Stoic, where he embraces Stoicism under tutors like Rusticus, and then he's got a whole bunch of self-reflection that fosters his personal growth. And then it's the beginning of his days as emperor of Rome. And Marcus was co-emperor with his younger brother, who I believe was 10 years younger than him. But at a certain point in his life, they split the emperorship between the two people, because Marcus had like really bad chronic health problems and the younger brother didn't. And ironically enough, the younger brother died earlier on and before Marcus, but that's we'll cover that later. So that's him as a young person. And then so when he was a reluctant young emperor, he faced a whole bunch of duty burdens that he didn't necessarily want to deal with, but he went through the Stoic process of accepting the burden of responsibility, and that helped him build a whole bunch of resilience. And then it kind of gets into the golden years, where he's a philosopher king, where he governs with a whole lot of wisdom during a bunch of crises, and he's got a whole bunch of virtue that comes as a result of his Stoic lifestyle and practice, which helps him have good leadership and everything. And then it goes through the Stoic at war, where the book talks about how he led armies and how he because he was also a general, and he had his own army, I believe, up in the north, where he was fighting some I don't remember if it was barbarians or if it was conquest or whatever, but he was doing stuff up in the north for a while. So the Stoic at war, the Stoicism helps him endure the external chaos. And then it talks about the Stoic in love. So Marcus' relationships and how they reflect Stoic compassion and how reason tempers emotional bonds. And then finally, the final chapter of the book is the Emperor's death. Facing his end, Marcus accepts mortality, and the Stoic peace comes from aligning with nature. So it's a really cool book. Just like follows the general chapter progression, follows the general life of Marcus. So it's really cool, really awesome. And that is the general synopsis of the book. For the next part, Zenith, I'm going to toss it over to you, I suppose, since we're more or less covering the history. I want to give you the opportunity to talk about the history and stuff with this book before we hop into the health aspect with Dr. Chen, and then I will cover the philosophy aspect for the last part of the show. So, when it comes to the history, how do you want to take it, broski? You want to start from the beginning? You had mentioned earlier a whole bunch of the emperors and how you kind of wanted to talk about them. So the floor is yours, broski. What's your pick?
And we're going to start off talking about the nerds. We're going to talk about the philosophers that came before him.
Okay.
So like you just talked about, some of the there's kind of like three core pillars of Stoicism around Marcus Aurelius's times. First off is the pursuit of truth, because this allows you to seek out what is true and virtuous. There's the pursuit of physics, so that you can discover and explore the world around you. And then finally, there's the pursuit of reason, which allows you to live a virtuous life. Those are really the three core tenets that Stoicism bases itself off. Marcus Aurelius he comes after Zeno, who was one of the early Stoics, and then also Epictetus. Epictetus is a guy that wrote a lot of, he had 5 volumes of books. 4 of them are actually saved and recorded, but there is a 5th one that was lost to time. But Marcus Aurelius actually is a person that has read it and actually quotes it in his meditations. So that's how that one has kind of been preserved. Before those guys, we actually get Socrates and Plato. So Socrates comes first, then we get Plato, who's actually a student of Socrates. They're some of the first ones who actually cover some of the core tenets of Stoicism about like what is good and what is virtuous, and why reason and pursuing what is virtuous is the only thing that is good. It comes from one of Socrates' old speeches, or I guess debates in the forum, where he asked people what is good, and he kind of goes around this reasoning of like, well, let's see what's good about like a shovel. And he says a shovel is good for digging. So a shovel is doing good when it is able to dig and fulfill its purpose to its highest degree. If we extrapolate that out to man has mental faculties for reason and exploration. So that's where you get the pillar of Stoicism, which says that living virtuously through reason and using truth and physics to explore the world are also good. Marcus Aurelius and the other Stoics are very, very clear about there's only good in pursuing virtue and pursuing things associated with virtue. They do talk about things like wealth, fame, status, and family, as these are indifferent, or these are the things that people usually attach moral judgments to. And indifference, separation, and moral judgments are really some of the things that the Stoics talk about, as they say, like, it goes back to the idea of you have emotions. You having emotions is not bad. You being affected by your emotions, that is the bad thing, because you've now attached moral judgments to your emotions, and you're allowing that to affect you and detract you from using reason to pursue virtue, because those are the things that deviate you from virtue, and virtue is the only good, as these guys posit. So they say that these things can be useful for sure, but they can also, if you pursue them for the sake of pursuing them, that they can be destructive. It was a question that I was asking and try to probe was like, what would the Stoics think about like personal achievement or trying to build legacy? They, based on what I was reading, they don't really explicitly talk about it a ton, but they kind of wrap it into the same level of the stuff as like wealth, fame, status, and fortune, which is that these things can be useful, but pursuing them for the sake of pursuing them is not actually virtuous, because only living virtuously is the good thing. So it kind of comes back to, these things are good if you use them for good, but the reason that they're good is because you use them to pursue and live virtuously.
It's so the tool.
That's exactly, it's the tool thing. And then to get back to what a point that you made earlier is, the idea of Stoicism is not just trying to like claim that all emotions are bad and I feel no emotions and I am RoboCop and stuff like that. The book actually talks about this as the differentiation between like capital case Stoicism, which is like Marcus Aurelius, Zeno's, Epictetus versions of Stoicism, as opposed to kind of like the more modern, I guess, fashionable version of Stoicism, where you just try to claim that you are impenetrable and that you are never affected by anything.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big differentiations that they make there. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today is you got to understand that when we're talking about these things, we're talking about the philosophies itself and what they believe. We're not trying to make moral judgments for ourselves about how to live, because that's up to you as an individual on how you live your worldview. Notably, these guys lived around, Marcus Aurelius, I want to say, was around like a little after 100 AD. So he technically was the post death of Christ time, and this is the beginning of the rise of Christianity. But everything that he talks about from the Stoicism angle is actually based on what has come before him through Socrates, Plato, Zeno, Epictetus, which is really rooted in natural law. And you really get this point coming out very, very heavily when you get to the final chapter of the book, where he's talking about death, and he has the long eulogy about how death is not good nor bad. It's just being returned to nature, and anything that comes from nature is good. And similarly, men come from nature, and no man willingly is trying to do bad. That's a Socratic principle, by the way. And it's this idea where you see that what they're really going after is what they deem as good comes from natural law, which is stating that pretty much whatever promotes human flourishing and minimizes suffering is usually in alignment with natural good. But where these guys take it a step further is where they get to the pursuit of virtue. That's the step further from natural law, but it's built upon natural law. That's where it really comes from.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That was a bit of a ramble. Any questions?
I'm surprised you didn't mention Seneca.
Seneca, crap. Which one was that?
Seneca the Younger. He quoted Seneca a whole bunch. Seneca was more of like a philosopher and a playwright. But I remember that name a lot from, I used to play Skyrim a shit ton back in the day, and it's one of the people they quote a lot in Skyrim. And I don't know if it's like in-game Seneca or if it's like real life Seneca, but like you always see on loading screens is like they got Seneca quotes in there, and so that was one of the ones that I remembered.
For sure. And by the way, I'm just going to cue this up for later on the discussion. You and I have talked about uppercase and lowercase Stoicism, which is like Marcus Aurelius Stoicism versus just the facade of Stoicism now. But I think there's also an interesting case study that I've previously read. It's on James Stockdale. He was a vice admiral in the Navy at one point. His story about Stoicism is when he was a prisoner of war in Vietnam. And he actually read the work of Epictetus and used that as a basis of Stoicism, but instead he kind of fixed the core on something slightly different, which was the locus of control. We can talk about that later on when we get to the more practical applications of Stoicism and stuff like that, but I just want to cue that up.
Yeah. I like it. Dr. Chen, I want to toss it over to you to kind of sort of mention the thing that you had that we'd spoken about in the green room about how Stoicism applies to the medical field. What were your thoughts on that?
We talked to one yesterday. We were able to link nutrition / addiction to the way the Stoics approach pleasure, essentially. And that was, instead of calling an Oreo and associating with all the good things about an Oreo, it's like, oh, it tastes good, it's got sugar in it, and it's got a cream center and all that. Instead, breaking it down to what it actually is in reality, it's just an external thing in front of me, and it's full of ingredients. So naming all the ingredients and looking at the ingredients on the Oreo is just like, ew, like polysorbate. What the fuck is this?
Poison.
Sugar and well, I don't
Love
remember
me
the
some
ingredients.
xanthine gum. It's a
Yeah,
popular one.
exactly. So yeah, that's a very interesting way to break down addictions, especially. To basically turn the thought of something that you like or don't like, and then just breaking it down to its natural form, if you will. And basically cognitively distancing yourself from the feelings that you have towards it. So that's that was very, very interesting, and I may use that tactic on people that I counsel. But real quick, let me just share this real quick.
Got a share screen.
So cognitive behavioral therapy was mentioned a bunch of times in the book. So cognitive behavioral therapy, when I learned it in medical school, was just a multiple choice answer on the test. I would say when I went through psychiatry rotations, I saw cognitive behavior therapy probably 0 times. I can't remember a time where it actually was used in practice. So that's partly why I didn't go to psychiatry, by the way, because basically psychiatry is just managing drugs. But anyway, cognitive behavioral therapy in general is kind of like talk therapy, but with a little bit of a flavor to it. You're taking your negative thoughts and then which lead to unhelpful behaviors, and you're changing the way that you're framing them. And I call it, you're putting a mirror up to your feelings and seeing it back at you. And there's plenty of tactics to it. And they actually brought up a lot of those tactics in the book. But they also, interestingly enough, brought up a lot of patterns that get people into these states of depression, anxiety, and the like. And obviously there's no, Pfizer drug or anything related to that. So it's kind of, hard to monetize this. But at any rate, it's sort of just kind of reframing a lot of things. It's a big reframe, but by putting it up to a mirror. And this list that I'm showing you right here is the most common thought patterns. And they talk a lot about these. So real quick, all or nothing thinking, like it's either, if I'm not completely success, then I'm a total failure. Like you just can't be anywhere in between. You can't have any nuances. It's a setup for disaster, for negative thoughts. Catastrophizing. If I mess this up, it'll ruin everything forever. You're basically worst case scenarioing everything. And you can't think of, what's either the more common scenario, because usually the worst case scenario is usually the rarest. So think of a general, common sense scenario that you would think of, or even a best case scenario. Why not think about that one? So you're just removing all of that and just focusing on one scenario that's probably not going to happen, or at least very unlikely. Overall generalization. I failed this test, so I'm a failure at life. You're almost like bringing point A to point B way too quickly and too simply too. So turning into one negative experience into a sweeping judgment. Mental filtering, so negativity bias. This is probably one of my biggest things that I do. So you're ignoring all the compliments, but then you're testing over one criticism. Where, I find personally that I hear so many people talking good things about me, but I sort of just ignore it. And then that one time, that one stupid little criticism or even not even bad, but somebody's just correcting my behavior for a little bit just to make sure I'm not doing anything. It's just something so silly, but you've now start, your thoughts just take off and they go into la la land, where it's just like now you're thinking about you're using the other tactics along the way. Fortune teller, I just know this interview will go badly, so you're just again you're just predicting the negative outcome and you're putting it in your mind. Mind reading, you're thinking that's a dangerous one too. Mind reading is probably one of the dangerous ones, where you're thinking like, oh, just because this XYZ behavior, oh, they must think I'm an idiot, or they think they don't like me, or the like. Emotional reasoning, so instead of actually reasoning with fact, you're reasoning with how you're feeling, and that's another dangerous one. Really dangerous. You're treating emotions as facts. They are not facts. They are guides to your facts, but the emotions in themselves are not true by definition.
Can I jump in here for a second?
Absolutely.
So emotions are a chemical cocktail that we feel in our brain as part of like a fight or flight response system that guaranteed our survival over hundreds of thousands of years. So it's a chemistry set up here in your head. So when like all of our thoughts are chemistry set and electrical impulses. So like this is the same argument that I'm making about emotions can be applied to every other thought that we have too. But just like they're only as valuable as we decide to make them. So that's something like all of these things on your list. This is the next thing that we're gonna cover here. I'm gonna tee off for this for the first question here, but I wanted to butt in there real quick. So go ahead, take the wheel.
Yeah, real quick. So should statements. This is a big one in Asian cultures. I would say it's like I should be a doctor, I should be a lawyer, or whatever. I should make lots of money and all sorts of things. Unfortunately, like in my journal, a lot of it comes from my very, very traditional Asian upbringing. So there's something in that. Labeling, you're giving labels to yourself that you don't deserve. Again, that automatically reduces your self-worth. And then finally, personalization. Honestly, you're doing something pretty selfish, where you're almost like
assuming responsibility,
accepting all the negative thoughts, and then you claiming that they're yours and yours alone. Yeah, that kind of thing. So my friend's upset, it's probably my fault. I mean, that sort of thing. Like it's just you're taking so much responsibility, but you're not dissipating that it's more than likely a bunch of people's faults in any situation like this, or more than one event that led to the situation that's not directly to you. So that's easy to get into that spiral of things. So I just thought that was really, really interesting. And also cognitive distancing, which was referenced quite a bit in that book, is a way that cognitive behavioral therapy works. It's just that's basically what I said in the beginning, was separating yourself from just the emotion and also what this external thing is that you're dealing with. And again, trying to kind of reframe everything in your mind so that you're not just focused on this external thing that may not be so bad. We are our own worst enemies. We tend to do a lot of things in our brains that exaggerate, that over all these things that we're seeing right here. We can be our own worst enemy in that regard, especially with our feelings. But they're helpful though, in if you can monitor them the right way, and that's what this book talks about a lot.
Excellent. Cass, did you have something you wanted to add to what Dr. Chen was talking about? And then after you're done with that, I have the first question that I'm asked is about the reframing things and how we can decide our judgment of stuff, because it's all in our head. So go ahead with whatever you had, and that's going to be my first question for you guys.
The only thing I wanted to mention is I think that last one, the personalization, I have experienced that one, and I tend to call it making it all about you.
Yeah.
You frame something in a very negative way that no matter what's going on with somebody else, it somehow has something to do with you, and you just relate it back to yourself in that way, and it can be very damaging. From my experience, when I've seen people do that, it's just, how do you okay, this is off topic, but
people are selfish, right?
Really quick, do you
Go
know
ahead.
of any suggestions to break yourself out of something like that, to kind of get out of that mindset?
We're probably going to talk about that right now.
That's what this whole book is about. Adopting the Stoic mindset is all about like going through this process of how you so like reading this book over and over again a couple times, and then and then just practicing the things, like doing the proof of work by following the advice that's in the book. That's how you get over these sorts of problems. Is it's all about choosing to frame things. So
Okay, well, perfect then. It sounds like we're gonna jump right into that type of thing.
hell
And
yeah,
I'll,
excellent.
by the way, I'll share this on the chat at the end of the show. So if y'all want to refer to it, the list that I just showed up, I'll put it on
Perfect.
the chat. So yeah, we'll
I
do that.
wanted to mention also. I was going to mention this earlier. I'm going to put the link to the free YouTube version of this also into the book club chat. So if you're not in there and you're interested in reading this, hop in. That link will be in there. You can listen to it for free.
Excellent. Cass, is there a way we can put the DGen book club in the scrolling Chiron? I don't know if we have it in there, but the folks at home, if you guys look at the little blue thing scrolling at the bottom of the screen, we sometimes have links written in there. So if y'all pay attention to that, you might be able to hop on in there. Can we do
No.
that while it's rolling?
No, I can, but you can't click on it in the scrolling thing. But I will add it to the video's description. Now that you
Okay.
mention it, if you
Cool.
wouldn't mind putting send me a message so I remember, because I've been meaning to do that and I keep forgetting about it.
Yes, I will send you a message on Telegram right now. After I ask this question to you all, and the question, I've got ahead and put it in our private chat, but it's about reframing. So one of the key Stoic ideas in the book is that it's not the actual things that upset us, it's our judgment of them. So essentially that concept is like when the car runs into the stop sign in front of you and scares the bejesus out of you, it's not the car running into the stop sign that scares you. It's the fact that like you think some sort of violence is going to happen to you. You think some sort of terrible thing is coming your way. You're taking this thing that's happening outside and you're applying it to your judgment space. You're going through the process of fear. You're going through the process of the fight or flight response. And it's all in your head. The stuff that makes you upset is all in your head. That's why like people that don't care about things, they never get upset. They never get angry. They never get pissed off. People that choose not to let their emotions overrule their life, and overrule their decision-making process. They don't let things take their peace away from them. So what that means is it's all inside your head. So my question for you guys is, can you think of a recent moment when changing how you viewed a problem might have made it feel less overwhelming, or something to that? Do either of you guys have a? I see that Mrs. McGetta has stepped away for a second. Do either of you guys have an example, or should I go first? Alan, go ahead. You're on mute, by the way.
This happened today. So as a doctor, one of the most chronically annoying things is that we have a shit ton of paperwork. Paperwork like consent forms, HIPAA forms, and then our paperwork like you get our medical licenses. We got to get this, that, and the other checked off, and CME, all this other stuff. We get inundated with not just paperwork but also emails. So this happened today, where instead of getting annoyed at it, I was just like, okay, it's a piece of paper. Like, why is a piece of paper getting me angry? That's kind of silly, right? And it was a form that I had to just get filled out for compliance or quality assurance, whatever they come up with these days.
Because they said so.
Yeah, because it's basically, they're trying, just trying to keep us compliant. You can figure out what that actually means. But I was just like, okay, well, so this form was due way back in March and I'm not fired yet. Okay, well, then, and they keep on emailing me to fill out this form. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to ignore this email now because, you had the chance to fire me months ago and you didn't. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and move on with my life. I'm like, okay, tweet. Whereas before, like, especially me starting out as a doctor, you want to, make your best impression. You want to do all the, you want to, be in line and not do anything rash. All that annoyed me, the crap out of me. There was so much that I had to do. And it unfortunately impeded my workflow too. Not just the fact that there was paperwork, but also the fact that I was getting angry about the paperwork. Like it was that emotion took energy away from me. This piece of paper, this little piece of paper is taking energy away from me. That I found that ridiculous. So that I applied that today. And that's why I'm so, in Asian outfit and being free from just all this stuff that medicine has caused me to be jailed in. Like that, I can name so many examples of this where the healthcare system is, it's not I know it's bad for the patients, but for the doctors, I can tell you it's 10,000 times worse of what the shit that we have to deal with. And it's one small step. I mean, it's a piece of paper, but it's another leap to kind of get myself free from all this, my emotion just being, just be absolutely shackled to some external thing. So that was a nice little dovetail after reading this book, because I just finished the book and was able to apply it right away. So I thought that was a cool moment, and that's why I'm here. I love it.
Did you mention? Have you mentioned what the paperwork was about? Are we allowed?
Oh, the flu shot.
Okay, so
flu season's already over. So
flu
happens.
Flu is over, and they're trying to get you to fill out this form that's about a thing that is over that you didn't do earlier. You said, "I'm not going to do it." What are you going to do about it? The value that the thing holds is whatever you decide, and guys, none of the stuff that we talk about here on the DGen Roundtable is financial or medical or lifestyle advice. We're just people talking about our experiences and sharing a laugh and sharing a story on the internet. So this might not be the thing for you to do in your world. It might be the best thing for some people to do. But the point is you get to decide how valuable stuff is. Like, for instance, I decided a long time ago that I'm just going to try not paying tolls and see what happens. And so far, nothing bad. That's what my story is about is toll roads. And you can decide whether you're going to pay them or not. And there's a consequence to not paying them. Right. So here in the state of Texas, there's toll roads all over the place in the big city of Dallas. And there's probably some down in Houston. And I know there's some around College Station and Austin and stuff. And if I was a Texas resident, then I would not be able to register my car and get a driver's license and do all sorts of other things down here in the state of Texas because I'm neglecting to pay the toll roads. But because I decided that they mean nothing to me, then it de facto means nothing to me inside my head. So now they have to come and find me and enforce the rule and yada, yada, yada. So that's my quick little story about deciding to value things
in the chat.
Yeah, hopefully, the Dallas toll enforcement.
We love you.
We love you guys. If you're catching the DGen Roundtable, then hey, DGen responsibly. I know that I am. Good luck catching me. But that's my quick little story about it's not the things that upset us, it's the judgment of the things. So when I get the bill for the toll in the mail, I could be like, damn, I owe the Dallas, or I owe the Texas tolling agency $50 this year. Or I could be like, oh, I don't owe them anything because I choose not to, because it's all inside my head and it's written on a piece of paper, and they might track me and find me and do some things, right? They might seize my car or do something, but it is all inside your guys' head. Zenith, do you have a story of things regarding you choosing to perceive problems or things in a different way and then them being much less severe?
Yeah, the example that I was going to give is whenever I'm playing games, in particular, if I'm playing something like poker, it's obviously I play $1 at a time. So there is money attached to it, and money is one of the things that causes emotions in a lot of people. But whenever I'm playing a game, especially things that are probability based, I always try to remove myself from the emotion of winning or losing and just try to evaluate whether I'm making good plays or bad plays. Because I'm playing the game to play well. There are going to be times where you're going to have bad beats and you might just accidentally just suck out some other person and just you had a terrible hand, you played it poorly, but then just the one magic card came at the end that was a 2% chance to hit, and it just was the magic bullet. And it's those cases where it's you can't get excited about winning or losing. You obviously want to win. That's the point. But at the core of it, you're trying to play your strategy and play it well. So in those situations, I always try to evaluate things like, was this a good idea or a bad idea? Was this a positive EV play or a negative EV play? Am I taking the free value where it is, or am I overexposing myself unnecessarily? These are the kind of things that I try to think about when I'm playing games, especially things like poker, or for the 40K crowd out there, anything with the dice rolling that happens. You can do the probability and statistics tables all you want, but at the end of the day, you're going to roll the dice and you have to live with what comes up. Alternatively, I also try to apply the same mindset to when it comes to the crypto stuff. which is that none of us know which way the markets are going. We have educated guesses, shall we say, and we try to make the best moves that we can based on probabilities. Believe me, there have been plenty of times where I thought I was reading the charts very well and I understood the fundamentals and I was like, all right, cool. Elliott wave theory. We had our wave 1, we had our wave 2. I think I see the start of a wave 3. All right, now is the time to enter a small trade. And then it just ended up going the opposite direction. For a good example of this, I'm looking at you, Thorchain. You have screwed me over so many times that I have decided the fundamentals are no longer there and will not play there until I see conditions on the ground change. But it's stuff like there where it's like, yeah, we're investing, we're doing a little bit of trading, money's involved, emotions are high. You can take it as a blow to your ego. You can chalk it up to complete luck. You might just choose the one meme coin that just randomly got pumped to the moon for no reason. But at the end of the day, I'm always trying to evaluate, are the decisions that I'm making, am I making the best decisions? Not exactly, was this one decision a win or a loss? Was it a good decision?
Yep. That dovetails in perfectly with last week's book, Market Wizards. Shout out to Market Wizards. That was a fantastic book, bro. And it's super empowering, right? To decide like, oh, this doesn't mean anything to me because I get to choose. It doesn't mean anything to me, right? Like if I'm the guy that the analogy that I always give people is like the glass of water analogy. There's a glass of water and you give it to a guy who's sitting in a swimming pool, and you give that same glass of water to a guy who's coming out of a desert. You know, they're going to choose to value that glass of water differently based on the way that they perceive it inside their head. So like you can choose how you value things. You can choose to care about problems. You can choose to not care about problems. You can choose to care about beautiful things. You can choose not to care about beautiful things. It's all inside your head. So the thing that you're getting upset with and the thing that you're falling in love with is actually all just right up here in your little electrical cranium noodle thing. Mrs. Producer, I want to give you an opportunity to answer the question. We've been talking for a bit, so I'll repeat the question. But the key idea, the key Stoic idea, a key Stoic idea in the book is that it's not the things that upset us, it's our judgment of them. Can you think of a recent moment when changing how you viewed a problem might have made it feel less overwhelming?
Yes, absolutely. On Wednesday is going to be my exact example. So a little bit of backstory here. I recently joined a new Discord for Pokemon collecting because the market's been just awful. Nobody's able to get anything. And one of my old friends from the community has set up a bot protection on her website, and she's only allowing like certain people in to buy stuff because she's tired of losing out to bots and her customers not getting anything. So the Discord's basically centered on that. And on Wednesday, we were all in there and she was doing a drop for one of the like really super highly anticipated items. And she had already done one drop for this item that I missed because the system is still a little flawed. They're still figuring out kind of making it all work. So I missed that one because it errored out on me. I wasn't able to grab it. They did a second one now, but it wasn't for my particular subscription tier. It was for the one that's like below us. So those guys all got to, get their chance. Then unexpectedly, she did one for my particular tier. But as I mentioned, on Wednesday, my uncle passed away. So I was sort of active, but also not spending a ton of time on my phone, just trying to process. And at that particular time, I happened to be off the phone and I wasn't paying attention. And basically, like I missed it by 40 minutes. So I come back. I just got this terrible news. My uncle just passed away. This item, she has it up for like a reasonable, fair price. So it was like 100 versus everyone else right now is getting it and selling it for like 300. So like triple. So like these two things, just one right after the other, I was just like, I was almost at tears. I mean, obviously most of those emotions came from my family news, but at the same time, this was just like the icing on the cake. Like, wow, okay, you missed this stupid thing twice now. And there were quite a few people in the chat who were like, upset because everybody's in the same boat. We're all trying to find stuff for like reasonable prices. We're not trying to pay triple. And I just eventually, I just looked around here, looked at like my house and what I have. And I have a, it's not a desk, but it's a shelf. I have a shelf where I keep all of my Pokemon cards that I need to like organize and put away. And it's about 16 inches tall. And I've got like 5 piles on it. One of those piles is almost at the top. So I've got like that many cards just sitting in this stack. And I'm like, you know what? I've got a lot of stuff already. It sucks that I missed this, especially coming right off of this already really terrible news. Like my day is just awful. But people were sympathetic, and some people did, like, offer their condolences and kind of chatted with me a little bit, made me feel a little bit better. But we had someone in there who, I'm not going to name names, but in our Telegram, we have a couple of people who are similar to this. So this guy is always complaining, basically. And so he popped up and he started throwing a fit, like bad. I don't think he's going to last very long. I'm pretty sure they're going to end up kicking him, because this is like the second or third time that he's done something that's been like very, toe in the line. But he started complaining, and I just responded to him like, hey, dude, you know what? The only thing you accomplish by coming in here and complaining about missing out on this crap is making yourself more miserable. It's not going to change the situation that we're all in. Like, you missed it. It sucks. I get it. I missed it too. And my uncle died this morning. So, like, I totally get it. It sucks. And it's like, it's hard to deal with that. But you're accomplishing nothing by complaining other than dragging everybody else down and making yourself more miserable. So stop complaining and look at what you do have, like I just did. Go into this other channel that this lady made for us, the person who's running the Discord, and see if you can trade some people for something you want. Because I'm sure you got extra stuff laying around. We've all got our collections. Go in there, see if you can do some trades. It'll make you feel a little better, because that's basically exactly what I ended up doing. Got some things I needed, and it helped a lot. But to me, that's kind of a good example, I think, of this concept, because I had to take a step back and really, like, acknowledge that this is dumb. Yes, it's fine to be upset, but to, like, stay on that and to be almost in the point of tears of it is just calm down, take a deep breath, look around. It'll be okay. Either you'll get more opportunities, or at the end of the day, it's stuff. These are luxury items. It's not necessary for life. It's not going to affect my ability to survive. It's just things that I like to have because I like them. So yeah, hopefully that's a good example that kind of fits the whole idea.
I like that, because it's both your and his struggle with the problem, your overcoming of the problem, because you choose the amount of power that you get to give those, and then his, unfortunately not doing so because he takes the other route. And so we get to see both the happy side of the equation of someone taking action, and then the not so happy side of the equation, where like a person just gives all of his power away to this thing that makes him upset, and then just exacerbates it, and digs himself more into the hole, and then he's probably going to feel more emotions, and then the people that are around him in his immediate periphery, they're going to be dragged down into it, just like you were saying. He's going to bring down the group. He's going to bring down all the people that are around him that get to experience his negative energy. So I'm glad that you found a way to turn it into a positive scenario. So any final thoughts on this premise before we jump on over into the next question? It looks like we are golden. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the next question. The next question centers on okay, the next question centers on I got myself confused there for a moment. The next question centers on action. So I'm a big fan of taking action. For those of you guys that don't know, I was telling Alan in the ride home today from work that the world doesn't, I'm stealing this from Richard Hart, but the world doesn't need more smart thinkers. The world needs more people that are like dumb but just doing things. The world needs more people taking action. So the book emphasizes that Stoics value action over chasing pleasure, saying that the goal of life is not pleasure, it's action. So what's one meaningful action that you have taken recently, big or small, that has given you a changed sense of purpose? So that's my question for you guys on the panel. And also, you know what? I'll go ahead and copy that. I'll copy and paste that, and I'll send that to the folks at home in the chats and things, so you guys can answer it as well, because I want to know what y'all are thinking too. I see we've got quite a bit of chitter chatter going on in there. But yeah, so the goal of life is not pleasure, it's action. I'm a big fan of action, so I'll go ahead. I'll start off this question by saying that one of the things that I've done recently is I've decided to stop letting other people take my time away from me without my permission. So like I get a lot of phone calls, I get a lot of texts, I get a lot of messages, and a lot of people that are requesting my attention for things that they want and things that doesn't necessarily help me accomplish my goals and accomplish my tasks. So I both set boundaries and communicate to people like, hey, this is how I run my life. You can contribute to it or you cannot contribute to it. This is things that I like to see. These are things that make me like you better as a friend, like you better as a sibling, as a brother, as a lover, as a parent, as a mentor, right? Like these are things that I like to see in people, and that makes me appreciate them more. These are things that I don't like to see in people, and that makes me like become tired of the human interaction between the two. Like the example that I like to give people is like, let's say I'm a vegetarian and people just come up to me and talk to me about steak all the time. It's like, cool, I'm glad you're talking about steak and I'm glad that you love it, but it has nothing to do with me. And so like you're consuming my time now. And to a certain point, we have to maintain our relationships with people, but we also have to chase our own pleasures and our own passions and accomplish the own things. So like if I'm trying to build the world's biggest vegan garden and be the best vegan that there is out there because I'm a type A blood type or whatever the hell, then like it behooves me to spend my time pursuing my passion rather than having my time interrupted by people that are, you know, they're being earnest and they're being honest, but they're talking about things that have more to do with them than have to do with me. So one of the things that I've done recently is I've started letting people know that like, I'm not going to cut them off if they talk to me about things that I'm not interested in, but I'm simply not going to entertain conversations, and like they'll be left on read where I would normally like give them like a thumbs up or respond with some witty remark that I copy pasted from ChatGPT or like, you know, something of that nature. I'm going to start protecting my time and start protecting my attention a lot more. So that's one of the actions that I've taken that has produced a ton of like time revenue in my life, because again, we only all get 30,000 days of life. So you're spending that time whether you want to or not. That's one of the actions that I have taken that has greatly increased my sense of purpose, is protecting the stuff that's valuable to me. Mr. Zenith, I see you have come off mute. We'll toss it to you, and then Alan, I'll send it to you next, and then Cass will finish off with you. So Zenith, what's a thing you've done recently?
Will Stevenson, not engaging in polite conversation. You make Miss Manners sad.
No, I do engage in polite conversation by not faking it, by not like
I know.
by like we have confrontations so that way we can avoid conflict. Like I love everybody. Don't get me wrong, bro. I have no enemies.
I hear you.
And it's like, because I love everybody, I have to tell them when they're doing things that bother me, you know? And so like I've like just in the last like 4 weeks, I've had to tell this to like 4 or 5 people. It's like, look, I understand that you want to talk about this stuff, but I can't listen to it because like I have to do things. And what you're talking about is taking away from my ability to do things. So like that's the way that I like. It is polite to give them the truth rather than to string them along and then become a less likable person myself. So I appreciate your feedback though, Brusky.
Fair enough. Just some gentle prodding. But your question immediately got me thinking about the quote that my father created from synthesizing it from the Bible. He says that if you find yourself in the shadow of the valley of death, don't stand there and wallow. Move. So
that's good.
He said that because there's been many times where either him or people around him or people in his vicinity, it's like bad things happen and they're just kind of like in shock mentally, emotionally, and they're just like, oh God, this thing happened. And he just like metaphorically gives them a big like solid slap on the back and says get going, and they say where, and he says anywhere.
If you
do you know where that is in the Bible, by the way? I'm just curious.
Oh gosh, no, the shadow of the valley of death is a reference to one of the Psalms, I believe. I can't remember. It's if I find myself in the shadow of the valley of death, I fear no evil because I know that my Lord
Psalms
is with me.
23:4. So it's chapter 23 verse 4. There you go.
Yeah, my dad, the Army Ranger, he used that for his own quote there.
I like that, dude. That's good. I wrote that down in my little quote section in my second brain.
I mean, I guess as another pop culture reference, the other thing I'm thinking of here is, and kind of like stoicism, is there's a famous press conference with Michael Jordan. I want to say it's in the playoffs. His team technically won, but they like barely just eked it out. And he was very disappointed in his performance and his team's performance. And one of the reporters is like, Michael, you won the game. You seem upset. And he's like, is the job done? Job's not done. We got to get going. It's stuff like that. And it's it's the classic of I am a guy, terrible things are happening around me, but I have to accomplish the mission, therefore I got to do it. I mean, I guess is the personal sob story is like when I was in college, I found out that my girlfriend, my long distance girlfriend, had been cheating on me for effectively a whole year, and her friend told me, and this is like the week before finals, and I was just like, I felt terrible, cried, got it out, and then I was like, fuck, I gotta study for material science, man. This shit's not easy. We got to get going.
Yep. All right, on to
like
the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the other side of the coin is something that I find myself have been doing a little bit lately in adulthood that I've been trying to really just break myself out of when I find it, which is that when it comes to your question was about the Stoics value action over chasing pleasure. And it's like, it's very easy to sit here at the computer and just play games and pull up Balatro and just play with the cards or do something like that. But at the same time, it's like, I could be doing this, or I could be doing like literally anything else. Like I have videos to edit. I have things to research. I have books to read. I have other stuff to learn about, or I have the house to go clean. It's like, all right, I can sit here and I can just keep playing games for 4 hours, or I can go do something, and trying to keep breaking myself out of the cycle and be like, all right, we got to go do things. We got to do the stuff. Action is better than sitting here in pleasure in front of the computer screen.
Sometimes the sitting in front of the computer screen is the doing the stuff, like when we're doing the work and we're doing the podcasting. Right now we're doing the stuff. This is like, so don't run away from computers, guys at home. Don't run away from computers just because we're saying like don't play no video games. Or you can turn video games into doing the stuff. That's how you can maintain your relationship with the boys or with your long distance friends. Is like, hey, let's go fucking explore some Minecraft caves together.
We'll jump in some hell divers.
Exactly, dude. We got some liberty and some democracy to go spread to these damn bugs. Oh man, dude, I'm so excited for the new Starship Troopers by Neil Blomkamp. It's gonna be good. But yeah, man, like there's sometimes sitting in front of the computer is the doing of the stuff, but definitely go and definitely do the stuff. Dr. Chen, Mrs. Producer, have you guys got a thought about some actions that y'all have taken that give you some more life purpose?
I can go. So
Go for it.
Look, real quick, one of the things that I quoted that I love from the book was, I need to pull it back up here. He who had, it's something along the lines of he bears a what? Oh, where's my chat? Here we go.
We do it live, everybody.
Yeah. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. And by the way, another kind of similar quote to Zenith's is idle hands are the devil's workshop. We're definitely seeing that this day and age where a lot of people have too much free time and they're doing all sorts of silly things out there. But how this relates to me, so I would say it's my channel. Starting a channel, I didn't think would be this difficult. Especially for me, because I'm kind of actually more introverted than people may think. But yeah, like I'm not a huge, I want everybody to, I want to talk to everybody, sometimes I just want to like go home, go to bed and just like sleep and not have anybody bother me. But the channel was, I had a bunch of like lag time where I was just not doing anything with it. It was just sort of sitting there idle and not doing much. It was more like and in some cases it was more of a vanity piece where I'm just showing off like all this cool, the cool traveling I'm doing. And then the channel is starting to evolve in the sense that it's now finding the why. And with that why, it says in the book, I can bear any how. So the things that are difficult about it, trying to get viewers, trying to figure out the algorithms, it's a pain in the ass. It's a fucking pain in the ass. And trying to go viral and do certain things and at the same time trying not to stray away from my message, because sometimes with a lot of creators, the original message or the original why gets lost because now they're more so in the algorithm, in the matrix, if you will, and not really centering it back to their North Star, which is their why. So it's a lot of things that you can easily get decision paralysis from easily. You can give up also. So now that I'm sort of figuring out like what my why is, and then also like being able to articulate, what are the things that I'm trying to get to you guys, is what are the messages that I want to send. Now things are starting to make sense. So now I'm able to approach other people that think like me, such as you guys, and be just more, kind of release all those like, negative energy feelings of like, oh, I'm going to sound stupid, or, oh, I don't belong here, I can't do lives, or, oh, I don't jive with this crowd. Like they're not going to like me. That kind of, all those negative thoughts. Once you free yourself from that, yeah, you can bear anyhow at that point, whereas what the end goal is going to be, and that's going to, it's just another step forward into this journey to be able to, speak your mind and, tell your stories and be able to hopefully have a lot of value to other people that they can take it and enrich their own lives. So knowing all those things is really paramount to getting yourself out of that idleness that people can get into. They just need to have that drive, that purpose. And unfortunately for most people, most men especially nowadays, like they may never get to that point where they're at their purpose, and that's like kind of the ultimate form of your, when you start thinking about legacy, for example. A lot of people are just not going to get there, and it's sort of sad to think about, but it's if you think about it, it's makes sense. Because you're sort of still in the gerbil wheel, and you're just in the cage, and it's comfortable there. That's the other thing. So yeah, I would say it's my channel. Like there's been a lot of hard work behind it, a lot of sleepless nights too. I'm trying to think about things and brainstorming things, but once you execute, though, it gets a lot easier.
Excellent. I like it. I was typing there, so I totally missed the last half of what you were saying. Can you repeat the back end of that one more time, please?
I was just in a riff. I have no idea what the hell I said.
Oh, damn. Fuck. Well, I guess I'm going to have to catch it on the replay.
Oh, sorry. So I guess like I was talking about the purpose. Most men are not going to get to the point where they actually have their true purpose or true why. And that's just, it makes sense after a while with the way that life is at the moment, where we're so inundated with all the pleasures that we have, and we're a slave to them. So it's important to have your why, so that you can actually take action, and it won't feel like you can bear the hows. You can be able to trudge through them, so that once you have the why, the hows are much easier, and they can sort of now execute. You're able to execute without much getting your way.
Okay, I gotcha. Excellent. Zenith, did you have something that you wanted to add on in there?
No, I was just going to try to fill the gap and tell you that, Will, I'm terribly sorry, but you threw off the Emperor's Groove.
I know I did. I apologies. That's freaking good. We can all catch this again on replay. So we freaking love it, Alan.
I do have a quick thing I wanted to ask you. I could not remember if it was.
We also got to toss it to Mrs. Producer.
This is tied to the question, I promise.
Okay, all right.
I couldn't remember if it was Army or Marine Corps doctrine, but I know that one of the big international differences between American versus like British or other combat doctrines is that, thanks to our well-established NCO Corps, is that with regard to taking action versus not taking action, is that in combat, if your officer is killed, the international response is usually to hunker down and wait for reinforcements, but the American doctrine is actually to either full retreat or charge forward at the enemy.
Yep. Do something. Yeah, it is all about taking action. 100%. Mrs. Producer, on the subject of taking action, is there an action that you have taken recently that has helped you develop a sense of purpose?
I've got two, actually, if that's all right. I'll keep them both.
Yeah,
short.
That's fine. Let's hear it.
So the question specifically mentions something about the goal of life is not pleasure, and kind of touching on that, I have mentioned before that and I think everybody here probably knows this by now. Well, actually, Alan, you might not, but I do volunteer for the Finch app on Facebook. I help run their Facebook group, and they have recently started up meetups. So both in person and virtual, just everybody gets together and like hangs out, does whatever. And I volunteered to do that. But one of the things that is I guess a pet peeve for me at this point is this company is they are quite small, but they also are avoiding spending money, like trying to cut back right now. So for these meetups, they're not providing any kind of budget, and they're not paying anybody who's volunteering to do this. It's just more free labor type of a thing, which they're completely transparent about it. So it's not like it's like a negative, but at the same time, I've been volunteering with them for about 2 years now. I've been hoping to get a job from them basically since before I started. It just seems like it's never going to happen. So volunteering to do these meetups and then being told, like, you don't get a budget, you just have to deal with it all yourself, pay for all of your own costs. If you do have any costs, you can ask the people who are planning to attend to like help cover the cost. But I don't want to do that because it's a mental health app. A lot of the people who would be trying to come to these things probably don't have a lot of money, and I don't want to like isolate people who can't afford to go, even if it's only $5-10. Some people just don't have that in this economy. So I'm getting ready to do that, and I'm getting frustrated because it just seems like an endless like stream with them. They're never going to find my time valuable, is how it's starting to feel. But then basically going back to like life's not about pleasure. I decided to suck it up, and I went out and I use Temu, and I get a lot of like free credits on Temu. So I got a bunch of stuff on there that I can always like grab, and I don't have to actually pay money. And I bought I guess, a bunch of stuff off of there to like give out to people, but like just little small things to try and like send home with them. One of them is the idea of take these Post-it notes and this pen. In the pen I got like customized, it says the name of the app on it, so Finch. Take these home with you, and whenever the app inspires you to like get something done that you need to get done, because that's one of the big things that this app tries to get people to do is like keep you on task with goals. So for quick easy example, wash the dishes. Once if Finch encourages you to wash your dishes because you use the app to somehow make that connection, take this little Post-it note, take this little pen, write something on there that says, hey, Finch inspired me to do this, and then go share it with people. And that's kind of like my way of giving back. And I went to Walmart and I grabbed like coloring materials because they make coloring sheets. So I'm going to print out a bunch of these coloring sheets. I'm going to bring those with me and offer the coloring material to parents who, might have, don't have any for their children at home. So they can bring home the coloring sheets. They can bring home some of these coloring materials, give them to their kids. Most people are going to have like markers and crayons and stuff. That's not super expensive. So most people will have it. But if you don't, because I never had a lot of that growing up, as a kid. I went to my best friend's house as a young kid, and she had all these colored pencils, and that was super exciting. So that was always like the thing. I'm just trying to do my best to kind of give back, swallowing the like displeasure feelings that come with this company feeling like they're kind of like just not valuing my time, and looking at the actual community that's involved, the people that I can help benefit by doing this. It just making that differentiation of like, all right, it's fine. The company's not paying me, and it bothers me, but I need to suck it up because what I actually want to accomplish here is more important than that. So that's one example I have that I haven't done a meetup yet. It'll be my first one is later this month, but I'm hoping that it goes well and that the reward ends up being like, the people are having a great time, and some people do benefit from taking these things home with them. The little bit of money I did spend will, hopefully go a long way to help somebody just feel a little bit happier. That would be awesome. And I actually completely forgot what the second one was. Oh, no, I remember now. Yesterday's health stream. It's totally fine and pleasurable for me to sit around and do nothing to improve my health, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fight the desire to just like sit around and ignore it or be lazy about it or just put it off. I'm going to do it. And I did it today, did the bike. And on Monday I'm starting carnivore. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, so those are mine. And
awesome.
Yeah, pass it on back to you, Will.
Well, so I'm actually going to pass it on to the folks at home. So I've noticed that some of the folks we've had some new people pop up. So we're gonna do a quick round of chat motherfucking shout outs where we're gonna talk about some of the people that have been answering the questions and also say hello to some of the folks that have rolled in, and then we'll proceed on to our next question. We got 2 more questions that I want us to get through before we call it a night. But let's do some chat motherfucking shout outs because we got some kick-ass people that have joined us. So Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind. We've got first up Tam saying, "What's up, fam? What's up, Tam? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Glad that we could have you, and I'm glad that you like the Hex hat that I sent over your way. That is fantastic." We've also got Tam saying, "Well said, Dr. Chen. Totally agree." And this was when you were talking about the, I believe it was the medical papers and the silly stuff that the hospital is making you do over there. So,
Correct.
Yep. That we should get a man. There's so many cool healthcare practitioners in the Hexaco space. We've got yourself, we've got Tam, we've got Dr. H, the chiropractor guy up in Canada. We've got Crypto Sloth, we've got Corey Geary, freaking all sorts of medical professionals. I know there's a bunch of Hex nurses out there as well. Freaking excellent. So it's good to see you, Tam. And glad that you like it. We've got Kenturian 54X has popped in saying, "Will got a new mic. Sounds good." I did not get this mic. This mic is courtesy of my good friend Dr. Alan Chen, who is right over. You guys can't see him, but he's just a couple walls away from me. And this is one of his extra Shure mics. And he was like, "Hey, bro, try this thing out." And then also shout out to our good friend Corbin, who's also over here. He's the one that set up this mic. I don't know how any of this sound stuff works. So they've got all sorts of little who's and what's. It's plugged into things all over the place. So they made it work. And I've got this fancy schmancy mic for when I'm staying over here at Alan's house. So it does sound good. I was listening to Replay Gang. So thank you, Alan, for giving me this mic. And shout out to Kenturian. Good to see you, amigo. Welcome to the stream. Glad that we could have you. Next up, we've also got Hexican Lost in Asia answering the question, "Crypto and Hex gave me new life purpose and delayed gratification." Yes, delayed gratification is like one of the coolest things that we learn in life. That's the model that almost always makes you more profitable than the immediate gratification. So glad that we could have you in here, Mr. Hexican Lost in Asia, and we're glad that you found some purpose with delayed gratification. Next up, we've got Agent J of the DGen Roundtable. "You can practice extroversion, Doc. Take it from a fellow introvert." Haha. Yes.
Oh, I practice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Alan practices, that's for sure. Alan, you and Jay would get along swimmingly, bro. You guys got so much in common.
I've got stories about this too. We can that's a campfire story for sure.
Hell yeah. We'll have to cover that on a campfire story stream. Fantastic. Well, shout out to all the folks at home. Shout out to all you guys out there that are answering these questions and hanging out with us on this beautiful, beautiful Friday night. So our next question for you guys on the panel and for the folks at home in the audience is about dealing with discomfort. So, everyday practice of tolerance or tolerating small discomforts helps us build the ability to withstand larger discomfort. What is a small discomfort that you could practice to build your resilience? And let's try and keep these answers relatively short, because there's a couple questions that are pretty good and a bunch of quotes that I want to go through. So something that I do just to kind of head it off real quick is I practice cold showers. So I will oftentimes step into the shower after turning the water on immediately and not even waiting for it to heat up. And then I just sit in the water as it heats up, and the cold water makes its way through the pipe until finally it's all gone. And then it's new, fresh, hot water. And then it's like, oh, thank God it's hot water time. So that's one of the things that I do is I do cold showers. And then also I was visiting Dace over in Louisiana. And he took me to one of his favorite gyms, and we sat in the sauna, and that was super uncomfortable. And let me tell you, like going from sauna to cold shower, the two extremes of discomfort, and then dealing with the great way that your body feels after that, totally worth it. So that's the thing that I do for experiencing small discomforts. And then also just like trying to find things, like lying down on a cold concrete floor periodically. Just introduce small things here and there, like taking a sip of some healthy medicine that is probably not very good tasting. Just try and find these things here and there. But that's the thing that I do. Zenith, Alan, Mrs. Producer, what have you guys got? Alan, I see you're off mute. Yeah, Alan, you first, and then Zenith, and then we'll kick it to Miss Producer.
So residency, that's the rite of passage for a doctor from going from medical school to their actual specialty. Is meant to be fucking difficult. I'm not going to get into modern day residency because they kind of now are fluffballing it. But the way residency is supposed to be is that you're supposed to be like put in the ringer, and you're supposed to see every little discomfort, everything that you're going to come across before you actually become a full-fledged attending. Because once you become an attending, it's like, okay, fine. Like this little disturbance, whatever. Okay, fine. We'll deal with it this way. In residency, for me at least, there was a lot of that going on where my resilience was absolutely tested. Long hours. Sometimes I'm working in the middle of the night, and my job is not easy either. Like you have to do lots of things at once. You get distracted a whole bunch. So it's that's what residency is supposed to be, is being able to withstand the demands of it. And then by the time you get to attending, you're on your own license. It's just like, not easy peasy, but it's much more manageable to the point where you can make solid decisions without getting too overly worked up about it. And that's kind of how actually that's a major difference between doctors and advanced practitioners, APPs. So nurse practitioners and PAs, because they don't go through this rite of passage where they're so in the ringer that they can get to this point. That's a huge difference between the two. So that's something to keep in mind when you're seeking these practitioners, is that step, is how well can they handle the pressure and be under that ringer.
Excellent. I like it. Mr. Zenith, what's a small discomfort you undertake to make yourself stronger?
Well, first and foremost, Will, you gotta shout out in the book. Even the Stoics back in the day were dipping in the cold river to force themselves to experience discomfort. So there you go. Cold plunge gang has been around since over 2,000 years now.
Yeah, I didn't invent it. That's for sure.
True. As far as me, though, this is a bit of a personal thing. I understand there might be something wrong with me, but working out for me has never been something that's been pleasurable. But I understand it's good, and there's things that you benefit from it. So for me, it's working out. You can either suffer the rest of your life or suffer now and suffer less the rest of your life. Pick one.
Choose your hard.
You're fucking right. Baby. Choose your hard. It is hard to be healthy. It is hard to be unhealthy. Choose your hard. I'm the same way, Zenith. I hate working out, bro. I fucking hate it, dude. So I find ways to make it fun. That's why I did my mace swings last year. It's because this is fun for me. It's not something that's crazy. So
I tricked myself into doing cardio by playing sports.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. I like that. Mrs. Producer, what's the thing that you do that is difficult to increase your resilience? What's a small discomfort you put yourself through to make yourself stronger?
For me, it's also going to be exercise related. So we are similar people. That might be why we get along. My bike seat absolutely sucks. It's terrible. And I injured my tailbone like 3 years ago now, I think, almost 3 years ago, and it still is hurting. And the bike seat absolutely makes it worse. So I am sticking through it, using that thing anyways. I have to basically stand up and kind of give my tailbone a break every 15-ish minutes. But I'm not going to give up on it just because of that. And I've thought about trying to get a new bike, but there's nothing wrong with this one. I mean, it's getting a teeny bit old. It has some electrical kind of things going on that are a little bit faulty. But other than that, I mean, it's perfectly fine. So I'm not going to go out and waste the money just to have a more comfortable bike seat. So that's my definitely my most recent one that I can think of.
That's good. I like that. This is excellent. And for the folks at home, if you guys engage in any small discomforts that you could practice to build your resilience, go ahead and pop it in the comments below. Speaking of the comments below, I'm going to do a real quick shout out. We got Funk Master Hex has joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Not going to lie, pretty buzzed right now, but tuned in. Also, Cold Plunge Guy, negative 40 degrees Celsius weather is gone, so the tub's back up and going. Shout out to you up in the Great White North, Mr. Funk Master Hex. Funk Master Hex, for those of you guys that don't know, is the Trailer Park Boys Julian of the Hex Ghost space. Always got his drink ready at the end of every fucking sentence. We love to see you, Funk Master. Welcome to the stream, broski. That is excellent. So our next question, and I sent this to you guys in the private chat, is about the Stoic teaching that the best revenge is to not sink to their level by allowing yourself to get angry. Could you share a time when staying calm instead of getting angry at someone helped you feel more in control? This is one of the quotes. I think all of us copy and pasted this quote. There's a couple quotes in the Telegram where I noticed I posted it, Zenith posted it, Alan posted it. I'm like, we're all on the same fucking page here. We all like this shit. So Is there a time when staying calm instead of getting angry at someone helped you feel more in control of a situation? I'll go ahead and kick this one off. And I drive a lot for a living. Like, I drive a lot. And so I see a lot of idiot drivers, and I see a lot of people doing dumb things that would make me angry if I was a person with a little bit less like stoic control and impulse. And I actually got my driving stuff from Sam. So shout out to my little brother Sam. He told me one time that bro, they're all stupid drivers. They're just all dumb. I don't know why you keep getting surprised, but like, they're all fucking dumb, man. Just expect every one of them to be dumb. You'll never be surprised. You'll never be whatever. So I decided that, like, and after hearing that, I realized that getting angry at them like takes my power away from me, because I can't do anything to change their driving, like, other than, you know, physically ramming into them. You can't do anything to make other people better drivers. So like, you kind of got to just sit there and say the serenity prayer of like, you know, Lord, help me to understand, or to grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. I can't make these drivers any better. So like, I suppose I might as well just take the control back from them, because they're eliciting this anger from me, and give the control back to myself and just stop getting angry. So that's the thing that I had. Zenith, I see that you're off mute. What you got, broski?
I was going to say, Will, I think Sam must have read Marcus Aurelius, because he basically quoted in there. One of the things I had was, "It is impossible to make men as you wish them to be. We must use them as they are." And then he also had another quote that was like, it was the idea that hoping that the fool will not be a fool is denying him his own.
Denying him his own existence?
Yeah, pretty much.
I missed that one, but yeah, we had all posted the we can't make people what we wish them to be. Wise as use them as they are. Yeah, all three of us, you, me, and Alan, all posted that. That was the one I was going to go to next after this. But yeah, I do believe that Marcus Aurelius has a driving course somewhere on YouTube that you guys can go check out. Just look up, just Google Marcus Aurelius's driving.
Go look up the sequel to this book, How to Drive Like a Roman Emperor.
Yes, how to drive like a Roman Emperor. Those chariots, man. The chariots getting all clogged up on the.
I was gonna say, I don't think that one would apply much to today.
But anyways, what you got? What you got, Z? Do you have an answer to the angry question?
I have an answer, and I have a book reference, so I apologize if it does get a little long-winded there, but I do think it's a fun story from the book that I do want to tell. I hate to be the sports guy continuously here, but I think sports is a very clear scenario. I remember back in high school, I was playing soccer, and there was this one game where a guy was like literally just like literally cheap shotting people, and got me a bunch of times where like we'd be like getting set up for like a corner kick or something, and he'd literally just like kind of like hide a punch and just like hit you square in the gut. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And he just kept doing it over and over. And it was like, all right, we can either get mad about this and fight it out, get a red card and get kicked out, and then we play down a man, or we can figure out how to play through it. Although a few of us did find a third answer, which was also learn the tactic and deliver a taste of our own medicine to them.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of it, but I'm saying it may have been effective.
Hey, so you should be proud of the results that you solved the problem.
A problem was solved, that's for sure. We may have created other problems in the midst of it, but that's neither here nor there. Alrighty, book reference for you guys. So, by the way, this question comes from the reference where I believe it was the second to last chapter in the book, but Marcus Aurelius talks about anger specifically, and how anger is one of the things where it is an emotion that should be felt. However, at the same time, putting a moral judgment on it, and then also having the ability to detach from that and not let it rule you, is very important in his opinion. So our story example here, back in 175 current era, Marcus Aurelius is leading the armies of the north, but there is one of his generals, Avidius Cassius, who is become a very well-renowned and decorated general leading the armies of the east. He came from a distinguished family and had proved himself in the Parthian wars against internal unrest against Egypt. Marcus Aurelius trusted him deeply and gave him command over the eastern provinces. There was a false rumor that Marcus Aurelius had died, and during this time, Cassius actually declared himself emperor and rallied his troops to declare him emperor. And then word of this got out to Marcus Aurelius. So Marcus Aurelius' response was no rage, no vengeance. When he heard the news, he did not react with fury or panic. He told his advisors that if Cassius wanted the throne, he could have it, and Marcus would not shed blood over it. The quote is, "If he had revolted, I wish him no harm. The gods will decide if I should continue to rule." But he did prepare and take action as a result. Despite his personal composure, he mobilized his own troops to retake control and restore the loyalty in the Western promises. He gained control of his own army and started marching towards the Eastern army to show that he was alive and show the men that he had not died and that their allegiance does not need to be placed in someone else. He did this not to destroy Cassius, but to reassert Roman authority without unleashing a civil war, because that is one of the things he actually feared during this time. Before Marcus could arrive, 2 of Cassius's own officers actually assassinated him, hearing upon the word that Marcus Aurelius was still alive, likely seeing the writing on the wall and fearing retribution. His head was actually put in a bag. Cassius's head was put in a bag and delivered to Marcus Aurelius. When Marcus Aurelius saw this, he refused to look at it, saying that he did not want to be stained by the vengeance. Marcus Aurelius actually pardoned all of Cassius's forces and refused to conduct widespread purges or persecute any of Cassius's families or supporters. The only people that were actually killed over this was a small inner circle of officers that helped Cassius create the plot effectively. He pardoned pretty much everybody involved, even those who had declared for Cassius. And as a result, he even gave some of the legions names to honor them for recognizing him as the emperor afterwards and not just throwing Rome into a civil war, which again was one of the main issues here. So the reason that he talked about, the reason that they showed this story in particular is that he could have gotten angry. He could have tried taking vengeance on Cassius, but because he didn't, that was actually one of the things that made the situation resolve itself peacefully. Because if he declared vengeance on Cassius and all the people that betrayed him, that would have actually led to war. But one of the alleged reasons why Cassius's officers actually assassinated and beheaded him was because they heard that Marcus Aurelius was not seeking vengeance or revenge. He was just trying to avoid the civil war. Therefore, they took it upon themselves and said, "Oh, this guy is actually the problem. We need to take care of this problem before it gets any worse." So because he actually was acting without vengeance, it kind of took a play off the table of the Eastern army, which was to fight its own forces, which they were smaller and less experienced, by the way. But that was ultimately the chip that really tipped the rest of the dominoes into the series of events that it was because Marcus Aurelius was not seeking vengeance. He was very angry about it. And because he trusted Cassius, but was ultimately kind of betrayed by him in this regards. But because he gave that pardon to the troops, they had no reason to stage the rebellion anymore because the issue had resolved itself and they knew that there would be no retribution because they were just trying to act as good Roman soldiers.
There was another detail in there that I want to mention, and that's that Cassius was super duper disciplinarian with his own troops, and all of the Roman troops respected the stoicism and the person that Marcus was. And so Marcus had the love of the people and Cassius had disciplinarian
he's trying to use fear
branding.
Mostly.
Yeah, he used a lot of fear. And so there was, I believe it was a centurion and a legate that killed Cassius. A centurion charged him with the spear and fucking necked him, but he was able to kind of get away, and then another dude fucking tackled him and stabbed him to death, and that was the end, because like Zenith was saying, these guys knew that they weren't that Marcus was pardoning all the troops, that he wasn't going to go after the people that are doing their duty. He was going to go after he was going to confront Cassius. And another thing that was pertinent about him agreeing to hand over Rome to Cassius was he's like, look, if Cassius can convince me that it's for the good of the people, then I'll step down and I'll move on. And so everybody respected Marcus. His character was insurmountable, and that's why he's super famous to this day. So
that's true. The reason for why these things also folded out the way that they did is because, like you talked about, a lot of the Roman army knew Marcus Aurelius, and they know that he was a Stoic, and they understood his teachings. Part of the core teachings of Marcus Aurelius was that duty is one of the most important things is the second most important thing that you can do aside from living virtuously. And when it comes to duty, he had this hierarchy of duties the hierarchy of groups that you owe duties to. First, it is your family, your city, and then your country. So the reason that he said that quote about I would step down as emperor if the gods ordained that Cassius rule, is because he had a duty to his country to lead the country the best that he could. He was there to serve Rome. If Rome is best served by Cassius being the emperor, then let it be so.
Yep. I'm going to toss this question over to Dr. Allen and Mrs. McGettit next. The question we're still on is the one about not getting angry at people to keep you more in control. So can you share a time where staying calm instead of getting angry at someone has helped you feel more in control? Alan, you got a story for us?
Let me quote the pertinent parts of the book that I'm relating to here. So once you consider that your anger can be a bigger threat, then you can weaken its grip. And a lot of times the reaction can be a lot worse and you can make the problem a lot worse. The other thing is that if someone hates you, that's their problem. Your only concern is to avoid anything to deserve being hated. And this was a big one. So my first job is in Florida, and it was about like maybe the third or fourth month. And I guess somebody at the time thought I was a Trump supporter, I guess. And we share offices, by the way, at that job. And but I usually work out of one office, and I had some of my own stuff there. One of those things was a nameplate. It's like one of those things that you put on your desk that says Dr. Alan Chen on it. I put that on the desk. So I was on vacation for 2 weeks, and I came back. And I noticed that the nameplate was stuffed in a box and destroyed. So it was easy for me to figure out who was working in my office. And it was, lo and behold, it was the person that disliked my politics at the time. And I was just like, WTF, mate. Like, it was just wild. Like, why would anybody do this? And it felt like it was a personal attack. I mean, sure. And I was also trying to say, like, hey, well, what other possibilities could this be? Could this be, maybe it was dropped, or however it was attached to the desk. So it was to say it's dropped is that's a little less likely. Or could the janitor may have messed it up or something like that while cleaning the desk? I don't know. But it was really, really easy for me to take a lot of personal offense to it. And then recognizing, though, that, especially since it's my first year, I didn't want to, act like a bigger fool, especially because it's my first year. I'm still a partner track. So I needed to make my best impression so that I can get partnership. The best course of action was to be like, okay, it's a thing, that name. Okay. Yes. It's got my name on it. Yes. it was given to me by my parents. It was a great gift. Okay, but at the end of the day, now it's just just wood and maybe a little bit of metal, and that's somebody engraved.
Here.
Okay, fine. And I moved on with my day, but I also said something to I guess I didn't. I guess for lack of a better term, I told on him, but I brought it up to one of the officers in our group. And he took the course of action to reprimand this person, and he ended up getting a monetary deduction off of his pay as a result. And after that, it sort of dissipated since I worked there and became a lot more comfortable to work there. So he got what was coming. He got the karma. But it can't. I could have made it worse, though. If I retaliated somehow, I broke something of his, for example, that probably wouldn't have happened. So you just kind of have to step back and think about, hey, like, yes, it's got some. There's definitely some memories associated with this inanimate object, but at the end of the day, it's an inanimate object. Yeah. And also, people are going to be people. You can't change what their politics are or how they react to people who have different politics. But at the very least, there was nothing that me personally that I felt that I deserved to be hated about at the time. So I just kept on doing what I do and assuming that that I was doing the right thing and move on. And at the end of the day, I got the partnership, and unfortunately I left that practice. But not for that reason, but for other reasons, personal reasons. But but yeah, I mean, it just don't let it get worse, because that's the worst thing you could do is to retaliate or revenge, like immediately revenge. And yeah, don't let the anger, don't let the anger spread. Like, let it stop with you.
Yep. It's funny, we often think of like doctors as being like this paragon of like, you know, doctors, judges, police people, or you know, whoever. Like we oftentimes and angelicize is the wrong word, but we take these people that are in these very serious professions and we're like, oh, these people are excellent, when it turns out all people are people. And a lot of adults are actually just high school children that are able to pay taxes and earn a lot more money and maybe drive McLarens or something. So it's funny the way that things work out, and it's good that you didn't go to anger, and you maintained control and stayed there. Mrs. Producer, I'm going to toss the question over to you. Can you share a time where staying calm instead of getting angry at someone helped you feel more in control of a situation?
Yeah, I have plenty of examples of things like that, and I've actually talked about them previously on some of our streams. Mostly the examples that always come to mind for me are my work with PTF, the Pokemon Facebook group that I run with I think we're at about 45,000 members now.
Mhm.
It's a feedback group, so we pretty much deal with people's ability to make or not make money in the community, because if we have a bunch of bad feedback on there, it's harder for them to sell their stuff. So we get a lot of angry people because we do cipher through the bad feedback, make sure that it's honest and that they're not like claiming, hey, this person's like, scammer or piece of garbage. We get it when people come in and they have something go wrong, they're angry and they want to just rant. So we basically have the rules in place, like you can leave feedback so long as money was exchanged, but you need to be honest about it. And you cannot sit here and make it biased to be like, this person's terrible and awful. So you need to use unbiased language and just give us the facts. People make their own decisions from there. But before, when the dust was kind of settling on putting all these rules in place and before everything kind of got like solidified, we had to change a lot of things because the group had a lot of like unwritten rules. So I'd get people all the time who would just messaging me, ranting and raving and bitching and moaning and complaining about whatever the heck they decided they wanted to complain about. I've had people come to me to complain about things that have nothing to do with me, that I have nothing that I can do for them either. So eventually I got to the point where when these people would come up, at first I argued with them, like, hey, just we went back and forth. We both had like points to make, and I was like determined that they would hear my point no matter what. But I kind of eventually had to learn that it wasn't helpful. All it did was stress me out and make me sit here doing that thing where you're typing furiously on your phone, sending a book to people that they're not going to freaking read, or they're going to read and then they're going to be like, fuck you, let me fight you even harder. Like, that was like the initial. It came around eventually to, hey guys, I'm happy to talk to you about whatever your problem is, but we're going to talk to one another with respect. If things get heated, I'm like, no personal insults will be thrown. Yeah, it's fine if you're upset and you want to rant and you need to get it out. Great. Don't really care. But if you don't treat me with respect, I'm leaving the conversation and
Leave
you
them
will
on
not
red.
communicate with me further. No, I block them. I don't
Oh
leave
yeah.
them on red. I
Oh,
block
okay.
them.
That works too. One
And
chance.
that works with almost everybody. I have
Yep.
had 2 people where it just didn't, because they just were unwilling to accept that they don't get to dump everything on me just because they feel mad about something. Because it's not my problem. I can't fix it. I've already given you all the reasoning as to why the things are done the way they're done. You need to have proof. You need to be able to back yourself up. If you don't, this community will call you out for it. They want to see that you weren't also a piece of garbage and you're hiding that you were also a piece of garbage. So if you're hiding things, they're going to find out. Like, it's almost a guarantee. It happens every time. And I've been doing this for so long that I know how it goes. But they couldn't accept that. They just wanted it their way, and eventually I did have to block them. But that's only happened twice. But rather than getting mad at these people, I just put the limits down, and the ones that I did have to block, it was the same thing. No more anger. I'm not going to let you rise me to anger, because that only hurts me. The only thing it does is make the rest of my day suck. I get to go around being pissed about something stupid on the internet, and it's just not worth the effort.
Bam.
So those 2 got blocked. That's ever since then, things have mostly calmed down now, and it's great. And if I do get into difficult conversations, put down the same basics, like, hey, We're going to talk with respect, or we're not going to talk at all.
So you just dovetailed me perfectly into the next question, which we're going to do lightning round, right? So quick answers only here. We can't make people what we wish them to be. It is wisest to use them as they are. Have you ever struggled to accept someone's flaws, or how might letting go of trying to change them improve your relationship? So, Cass, I think that you did a pretty good job of answering that one. Do you have anything that you want to tie into that answer that you just gave about how do you best deal with people, and not best deal with people? How does allowing people to be themselves and you relinquishing trying to control them, does that bring you peace?
Oh, absolutely. I had a lot of issues with that younger in life,
Yep.
For some reason, everybody seems to have it in their mind that we get to decide who other people are, and that's just not the truth. And I had to learn that lesson through life the hard way.
Hmm.
And one thing that I do want to mention, kind of add on to it, is some of the times when you're experiencing something like that, the best thing to do is what I mentioned there. Just stop continuing the interactions and make it very clear. Hey, if you want to stay in a part of my life, you're going to let me live the way I need to live. Or I don't care if you're in my life. Like, you want to be in my life, that's great. I don't necessarily care if you're in my life, because technically having you in my life isn't really beneficial to me. And this is,
Yep.
just kind of a generalized statement, not directed at anybody. So if you want to be in my life, you gotta just understand that I'm living my life, and you don't get to tell me and insert your opinion over me. So
I like it. That just, I'm going to tee right off of that and just kind of repeat what I was talking about earlier with telling people that they don't get my time if they're not going to play into my games. It's the same thing. Like, I'm not going to change their actions. I'm simply going to tell them what I'm going to tolerate and what I will not tolerate. So you fucking hit it spot on the head there. Spot on the head there, Cass. Dr. Allen, do you have any thoughts on you can't make people what you wish them to be? It's wisest to use them as they are.
Yeah, a lot of the last 8 months of going through is that I lost a lot of friends, and the commonality, actually, don't forget, is me. And it was a very difficult, the most difficult period where I was suffering the most was realizing that piece and how much I go through all those awful thought patterns that I've discussed earlier, but also thinking that people are like me, which is absolutely not the case. I am my own individual. I'm a very odd individual in a lot of ways, and that's okay. That's the other thing I had to forgive myself on, is it's okay to do the things that I do. Sometimes, I think one of the behaviors that I do that most people don't is that I like to give back when people have done good for me, and like 3x, because of, in my heart, like, people don't do this for me. I'm usually the one that has to give and then get nothing in return. Like, it just to receive a gift from someone else, is very meaningful to me. And I like to give it back in more ways than one. But sometimes that can be a double-edged sword, where I'm almost like expecting that from other people, whereas other people do things differently, and that's okay too. But it just accepting like the way I do things, and then is the most important thing about that, and not so much. Well, the other people, yes, I mean they'll do their own thing and whatnot, but it was more so that I wasn't accepting the fact that, like, I am who I am. I wasn't accepting myself. And that was a big thing that I had to deal with recently, where I could have lost friendships because I was the one that overreacted. I was the one that had all those poor thought patterns, and it took a divine force for me to figure that out before I made things way, way worse and just absolutely make it explode. So I'm glad that that didn't happen, number one, and I'm very, very thankful for that. And it's definitely freed my mind the last couple of weeks. So these last couple of weeks have been some of the best weeks that I've had recently. And yeah, that's why I'm chipper tonight.
Hell yeah. I definitely agree. Your energy today has been crazy cool. Just like seeing the difference of you Because I've seen you come off work before. Seeing you come off work today and just like fucking bouncing full of energy after reading this book and getting all that stoic stuff done at the office and telling them to go pound sand about this paperwork they don't need to get is just it's been fantastic, bro. So you're definitely feeling up today, Mr. Zenith. Same question to you. When dealing with people, you can't change them. You got to use them the way they are. What are your thoughts, bro?
Time for Sea Stories with Uncle Z.
Let's hear it.
Back when I was a young ensign, I was in charge of an engineering division, and I had this one guy in my division, a notorious, angry, grumpy, curmudgeonly, pissed off son of a bitch. And he, like, everyone tried counseling him. All the chiefs, they were like, you are actively just like being a detriment to this workplace, and you're even sometimes disrespectful to the higher ups and whatnot. And then I knew I couldn't really change the guy, but I knew one thing about him. He was damn good at welding. And the more pissed off he got, the more he just wanted to go work by himself. So for that 6-month evaluation period, guess who got to put on their marks that we completed more welding than in the history of the last 3 years on this ship? That would be me, because I was like, can't fix this guy, but I can direct him. I can point him to take his anger out on those welds and those beads and go fix as much crap as he wants to. I will buy you as many rods as you want. Get after it.
Yep.
And it worked out well.
That's awesome. We love it. The guys go take care of their metal glue gunning of the ship. We love our whole technicians. All right, real quick, I'm going to do a quick break for a chat shout out, and then we'll get on to our final question, which is about everyone's favorite topic, death. But before we do death, we're going to do chat shout outs because it's fucking awesome. I suppose if I was a clever lad, I would have done death and then lightened up with chat shout outs, but too bad, so sad. Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and pull up these last 3 chat shoutouts. We've got Crispy Man with the Quattro Cinco 5555 impulses. Yes, sir. We are having lots of stoic impulses to delay our gratification. So it's good to see a Crispy Man. Shout out to Crispy Man, another Navy veteran, a super cool cat over there. I can't remember what he said his rate was when he was in the Navy, but hull technicians and Coast Guard officers and Marines and Army Reserves gentlemen. It's shout out to all the military gentlemen out there right now. And speaking of shout outs, we've got some more shout outs to do with the chats. We've got Hex Glenn coming in next talking about serenity now. Yes, you're absolutely right, sir. We do the serenity prayer at all times because we want the serenity, the wisdom, and the courage at all times. Next up for the chat shoutouts, we've got Pulse Jitsu with Fast Abdul. I have brought you the gift of my presence. Shout out to Fast Abdul. We fucking love you, broski. Your presence.
Didn't even have to bribe him for the presents.
We didn't even have to bribe him. Yep. He bribed he bribed us with his presence. So it's good to see you, broski. Glad that we could have you with us today. And that brings us to the end of our podcast, guys. So just like the end of all things, everyone's going to die at some point. We're all going to stop existing. We're going to, remember, you are dust, and unto dust you shall return. One of the points that Marcus focused on at the end of the book was he talked about, don't be sad. I lived like most of my existence was nothing. And then for a short period of time, I was. Now I am. I will be a little bit longer, and then I'll be nothing again for the rest of the time. So most of everything has been just blank nothingness, and I'm going to return back to that peaceful slumber. I'm going to go back to nature, going to go back where I belong. You know, it's been a great time. It's been awesome, but like it is finite. So with that being the case, Marcus reflects on death to live more purposefully, with one idea being to learn how to die is to unlearn being a slave. Without getting too heavy, how might reminding yourself that life is short inspire you to focus on what really matters most right now? Mr. Zenith, have you got any thoughts on your own mortality, sir?
Well, fun fact, we will all die one day, and you're going to have to contend with that in your own way.
Yep.
So, I mean, I did think that the interesting point from the book about Marcus Aurelius is that he has a whole chapter, which is basically just like a chapter of poetry, talking about how he sees himself in the flow of time, and that he even starts off the book where he talks about he's being on his deathbed and he sees all the people weeping for him, and he's like, don't be sad. Like, we had a good run. Get out of here. Go live your lives.
Yep.
But I think that accepting death is something that is good. I guess the anime reference for tonight is Code Geass, where one of the whole points, spoilers, is a lady is immortal and her final wish is to be granted death so that she can pass on, because she posits that life without end is life without meaning. The whole meaning of life is that you have a finite amount of time, so you have the pressure to do something with it.
Excellent. I like that. I will say that I have lived for 11,735 days. That's how long I've been alive. I have another 18,265 left to go. So like I'm almost halfway, bro. Like 30,000 days of life. If we presume that everyone dies at 78 years old, or that's the average or something, 30,000 days of life. I've been alive for 11,500, little over. It's coming and going. And then, no one's going to live forever. I mean, we can make our ideas live forever, but we can make our legacy, like as long as YouTube is up and running, I'm still kind of alive. If I ever write a book like Marcus Aurelius is still alive inside our minds, because here we are talking about him 2,000 years after, or 1,900 years after he was alive. So like your corporeal form will return to dust, and you won't get to experience eating and having sex and good sleep and being out in the sunlight anymore. All that will be gone, but your work, the things that you have created can still live on. The people that built the Great Pyramids of Egypt, they may all be dead, but those pyramids are still up. The people that have built like the guys that have invented, atom bombs, right? They continue to live on inside our mind. The people that go and they conquer, half of Europe, like those people still live on in some way, shape, or another. There's people that do good things, people that do bad things, and they get to live on inside our minds every time we speak their name and talk about their existence. So our corporeal forms are going to pass, and we're all going to return back to dust. So that's what helps me think about like the importance of what I'm doing. And, big shout out to the book, The Power of Now. I know that not everybody liked that book, but I thought it was a great book. I was super sad to have missed that book club, but those are my thoughts on this. Mr. Dr. Alan Chen, Esquire, what are your thoughts on mortality, and how might thinking about how life is short help you appreciate and focus on what matters the most right now?
Yeah, one of the quotes from the book, "It is vanity to worry about how history will record your actions." That was that's to be fixated on that is almost like its own idol. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Especially the D-list celebrities are trying to stay relevant. Like to me, that's just like, oh wow, that's kind of sad. Unfortunately, like I feel bad for them, because just now that's all they're left with, really. But yeah, once you recognize and accept death for what it is, you put a lot more emphasis and a lot more value on time and also energy. That's probably the one that doesn't get looked at a whole lot. And then especially energy in this topic with anger and your emotions and whatnot. That has such a high price that I think most of us underrate. And the last couple of years, I've found more ways to get some time back by outsourcing it to other sources, like an assistant or an AI or other service, for things that I used to do by myself that just are not worth my time and also even my money. So I'm actually working to. I have a lot of buckets that I have to maintain, that I get to maintain. Excuse me, I get to maintain. And I want to still be able to maintain them, but I only have so many days. I think I'm at 13,000-ish, 700 or something like that, my days. So I'm getting close to the halfway mark.
Yeah.
But because you're never going to get that back. By the way, it's an investment that you'll never. Once you consume it, it never comes back. And you gotta use it, and that's where folks who just get really inundated in the pleasures, they overdo it a lot. They lose the time as well. So yeah, that's been my goals, is to still be able to do the things I want to do, but also outsource the things that don't serve me very well, or don't make me money or whatever. Because time is just your most valuable asset. And don't just throw it away for anything, really. Use it wisely and spend it endearingly.
Excellent. I like it. Mrs. Producer, you are the final one to answer this question. What, oh shoot, I got to pull the question up, but I have my copywriting. How does thinking about your own mortality and the finiteness of life help you appreciate what's going on in each and every single moment?
Um, I don't really know. Honestly, that's a hard one for me. I do know the loss of my uncle did kind of help kick that back into the forefront of my mind, especially being that, I mean, 57 isn't exactly young, but I think life expectancy is somewhere in like in the 80s, and he didn't come close to that. My grandpa didn't come close to that. So his dad, my grandma, his mom didn't come close to that. My mom is only a year under him, so it's just scary to think about. For me, that was a little bit of a catalyst to get back on track with the health thing. Also, the health stream is going to be really important for me because if I have that responsibility of, you know, constantly having to kind of keep that up and keep myself accountable with the goals that I am setting, like doing the bike today. It took me forever to get on that stupid thing, but I got it done. Like I was determined to make sure I got it done, and I hate doing it later in the day because once I've already showered, I don't want to take another shower. So I try to do it as soon as I get up, then go hit the shower, then continue on with my day. So I'm done with it all by like 10 o'clock in the morning, noon, or like noon if I have something that I have to do beforehand, which does happen. Um, so I guess that's kind of my long and short answer. I'm seeing a lot of my family kind of, their lives are ending pretty young. And I don't know if it's necessarily genetics or if I can, change things now to make that, different for me. But I'm certainly going to try my hardest. And what he said in the book, this is one of the parts that really resonated with me. So I'm sorry if I'm taking a little bit longer, guys.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
He mentioned like kind of exactly what we're talking about, like don't cry for me when I die, because he had mentioned that when he lost people he was crying, and they even said like that he was a little more emotional than they were used to for like an emperor back in that age, because he showed his emotions. I guess the standard was to not show them and to hide those and to keep that stuff private, but he did cry a few times in front of other people, like when family members died, and then when he came to his own death that's when he realized like that's just part of life. And that really became like his mantra, because the people were crying for him and he saw all of his people, in tears, and he's like, hey, why are you guys crying? This is just something that happens. you know your lives will continue on, and all of us come to this though at some point in time. So that was really, I really liked the way he put that. That was one of my favorite parts of the book, but I also only got so far, so there might be better parts too later on. But yeah, that's all I've got.
Excellent. I like it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have an answer here from Miss Arceus as well. I remind myself to fill life up with as much good stuff as possible. Do it now and do the best stuff first. I commented that, eat the dessert first. Then we've got, Dr. Chen, of course. Yeah, don't eat the dessert first because it's full of sugars and carbohydrates and things of that nature. But eat the good stuff first. Do the stuff that's important. Take care of the things that are the best, so that you can, like Cass was just saying, take your life into your own hands and live as long and as fruitful as possible. So with that being said, we have come to the end of our show. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go around the horn and give this book a rating. The rating system is, we imagine people on a journey of 0 to 10,000 hours. So for the folks at home, if you've never seen us rate books before, we imagine that people should read books at different levels of their education. So like, you don't start off a kindergartner with quantum physics, right? You start them off with, addition and subtraction, and then you slowly work your way up to that. So we think of folks as being on a journey from 0 to 10,000 hours of excellence. People, by the time you get to 10,000 hours, you've become a master. You are at the peak, at the apex of your learning journey. Where on the scale of 0 to 10,000 hours do we think that this book would best suit people on their journey to excellence and self-improvement? I'll go ahead and go first, and I'll say that I very much enjoyed this book. I'm going to definitely read it again. I would put this book in the 100-hour mark, because I think that it's not necessarily something you should start with at the beginning. Probably have a little bit of understanding of how life works, but get these principles down early on in your journey, and you will be A-okay, and you'll be able to tackle and accomplish a whole lot more of the crazier problems that you're going to experience later on. So like you give someone this knowledge right off the rip, they're not going to appreciate it. I don't think they'll be able to really put it to good use. So I'll say, like, give this book to someone at about 100 hours into their journey. You know, like that would be if you look at it as a job and people work 40 hours a week, you give it to them after they pass their 2 weeks of initiation and training and everything. It's like, okay, now the real work begins. You've gone through the grinder a little bit. Let's give you some of the actual sauce and get you rocking and rolling. So I give this book a solid 5-star review, 10 out of 10. I'm gonna definitely read it again. Thank you again, Moonpilled Rational Optics, for shouting this book out in the suggestions. Mr. Zenith Broski, what are your thoughts on the book, and where should people read it in their 0 to 10,000 hours scale?
On our 10,000 hour mastery scale, I think I'm going to put this closer to the 1,000 hour mark. I think that there's a good deal of life experience and maybe a few other philosophical books that you can read ahead of this one to give this one a little more context in meeting.
So
however,
like 6 months in.
Yeah, something like that. Although at the same time, I do think that this is a very fundamental book, especially for young men growing up, especially the chapter on anger, because I think that is an emotion that men have to learn how to contend with and use effectively at a certain point. I'm not saying Stoicism is the correct answer for all of philosophy, but I'm saying it can be very useful and very helpful and help you guide and focus and channel your energy and your emotion into things that are useful and productive. So I think that this very much falls a little later on, because I know I keep saying this for a handful of books, but it's like, I think that these topics are important and heavy enough that I think you should have a level of gravitas when you read them, so you can truly understand and value it, as opposed to what I did with my morals and ethics class, which is when they just like shotgunned a bunch of just philosophies at us, being like, these are the ones that are out there. It's like, okay, I don't know what to do with it, but I read it.
That's a good point.
1,000 hours, final answer.
I like it. 1,000 hours is a half year on the journey of 5 years of mastery. Dr. Chen, where would you put this book on the scale of 0 to 10,000 hours a person should read when they're becoming?
My initial thought process was low, but I'm going to go 2,000 because
2,000, okay. After a year.
So
are you Price is Writing me? Are you giving me the 1,000?
I would have said 1,001. Yeah, I would have said 1,001. No, not quite.
Oh my god.
Anyway, no, 2,000, because the way I approached the book with the forwarding of the messages, and I mean, I'm not gonna. This is private, obviously. I'm not gonna share my personal experiences and how a lot of the book related to my life, especially recently.
Just so you know, we are live on YouTube. Like this isn't just some friends hanging out. People will be able to see this forever. Okay, good.
No. I meant no. The ones that I kept to me, I did not share in the.
Okay, gotcha.
These are the ones. So remember, I put it in the second brain. This is that discussion where I basically vomited out all the points that I wanted to make, and also my relate that to my personal experience. Yeah. Threw that on my second brain, and then I forwarded the ones that are more generic or direct quotes from the book. That's where I threw it in the DRT chat. So the DRT chat doesn't see the more personalized stuff. So the reason why I say that 2,000 is because I think, as for a journey of a man, I think that he's got to make some mistakes. That's probably enough mistakes that now that you read a book like this, you can sort of now relate to that and sort of be able to solidify the lessons from those mistakes once that does happen. So that's where I've taken the most value from the book, is because basically I was just able to go back and think of this scenario where this applied to me, and then it's like, oh, you know what? That's I definitely learned. That's something I definitely need to learn from that experience, and in fact also, what it does for things that, especially that are really, that really bit me really hard, and I associated a lot of negative thoughts with, it actually freed me for those negative thoughts too. It was very cathartic in that way, where I was just like, you know what, okay, fine, that guy hated me. Okay, that's okay. Like let him do it. That's his problem, not my problem. So it let me let go of a lot of past. And that was another theme of the book, by the way. So let go of the past and the future and focus on the present. Like it let go a lot of past. That's literally what I've been doing when I was journaling in my second brain, is letting go of that and allowing it to flourish into a lesson. So that's why I say 2000.
Okay. Excellent. I like that. That's a good answer. What about you, Cass? What are your thoughts on the book for a person on their mastery journey?
So for me, I'm with you, Will. I think this one should be an early start for most people. The reason I say that is because having at least the concept of learning how to control your emotions is so incredibly important. So many people rise to anger and do something that they regret for the rest of their lives or for at least a very long time, especially in their youth. So, Alan, your point is fantastic. And I think you're right. There is something to be said for people have to be willing to learn it. So, like, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink, that whole concept. But I think this is one that if you do start it early, it can help you get those gears turning at least a little bit. And then hopefully somebody who is looking to improve, because it's almost guaranteed you're still going to make mistakes. That's life. That's how things go. But somebody who is interested in learning how to master this would revisit it at the 1000 and then the 2000 and so on and so forth. So I very much think it's a book that should be, like you've mentioned, read it again, continue on with it forever. Kind of like there's a bunch of them that I think fall into that category that we have done. And my biggest one always comes back to How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's one of my favorite books of all time. And I think this one falls right into the category. Start them off with it, one of the first things they read. And hopefully, if they are a person who wants to and strives to improve, they will revisit it multiple times.
Excellent. Since we already got it with you, Cass, where can the folks find you and what have you got going on in the near future?
I was drinking my tea, Will. How dare you?
Boo. Take that. Oh, shoot. I got tea downstairs. Now that man, that bitch is cold by now.
Oh, no, that sucks.
Go ahead.
So for me, if you want to talk to me about anything, especially the new health streams that we're getting started up here, you can go ahead and scan that QR code that Will is kindly attempting to point at, kind of getting there. Alan, other side, bro. It's like it's mirrored. It's reversed. Yep, there you go.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, it's
Oh,
it confuses everybody.
You've got one of those Macs where it shows you the mirror image as opposed to a real computer.
Well, it's different on StreamYard. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, StreamYard will do that. Actually, Nate thought that you guys would see it because Nate was like flipping his cameras one day and he thought it would show on actual YouTube and it doesn't, and he was so disappointed. Yeah. So StreamYard does that; it'll mirror.
The radiology problem, by the way.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Mirror my camera. Oh, look at that. Yeah, if you click on your camera setting, there's just a check for it. That's cool. Okay.
But yeah, find me in the Telegram. We're getting started with the accountability stuff. So if anybody has any goals, it can be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be like super intense. Just anything health focused that you want to get started on. Drop them in there. Absolutely. I would love to have people participate in this because if I'm in there by myself telling everybody every day, hey, I did my bike, I'm gonna get real lonely real quick. So if you've got
to work on your sales pitch. You got to get people interested.
Hey, I'm trying. That's what I'm doing right now.
What's in it for me? There you go.
Yes, what's in it for you? Well, a healthier life, quite frankly, and the entire community that we have built over the last like almost 2 years now, hopefully backing you up and supporting you to the best of their own abilities. So that's what's in it for you. Again, like I said, like I did mention yesterday, you have to want to work on these things, and if you don't, then it might not be beneficial for you. But if you are, if you're trying, if you're willing to put in that effort, like I talked about with this book, reading it again and again, hop in there, give us a goal. I don't care what it is. Your goal can be, I don't want to eat ice cream on Tuesdays. And so long as you're doing it, you're accomplishing something and we're going to cheer you on. So please come join us. We'd love to have you. And I'm going to toss it over to whoever you want to toss it to next, Will.
Dr. Chen, where can the folks find you and what have you got going on in the near future?
Yeah, you could find me on my channel that discussed earlier is at Your Health Unplugged. Also on Rumble in case the overlords decide to cancel me, which could happen. Instagram at unplugged.md. I'm also doing pretty well on TikTok, surprisingly, which is like weird because TikTok's made in China. But and X, both are TikTok and X are unplugged_doc. And a couple of updates from yesterday's show. We did a show yesterday, by the way, so check that out. About health, and we were able to segue into the book as well on that show. But I mentioned the interview with Alex Stanciu, the trainer of the Tate brothers. That's going to get postponed. Actually, we'll probably set it up for probably the week after next. That should be a good one. I have a lot of very interesting questions for Alex, and we've met a while ago, and it'll be good to see each other again, at least through the airwaves. But also, the channel will get its first live stream. Not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, and a topic that's near and dear to my heart would be the effects of in real life interactions on health. Which is something that's really underrated in therapy, or just in therapy and treatment of just most diseases, is having that. So I'm looking forward to that. I have a lot of good stats, good talking points on that, getting set up for you guys. And I appreciate, like I said yesterday, I appreciate this group of that we have here, the DGen Roundtable, for accepting me, and it's been a wild ride since with my channel and getting me kind of springboarded. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for your support, and I'm looking forward to being back on more shows and more book clubs. I'm looking to read more books again. So it's been great. It's been great for me, and hopefully I've been able to give back the value to you guys as well.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure having you on, Broski. And speaking of more book clubs and things, Mr. Zenith, Broski, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future? Have you decided a book for next week's book club?
Folks, you can find me on X and Instagram at ZenithDI. I tentatively want to do 1984 if we are in agreement for that one. I know it's a classic. I have not read it yet. I know many quotes from it, but I've never actually read the book, so I figured it's about time to do that. What do you think, Will? I know. In high school, it was either you read Fahrenheit 451 or 1984, and I read Fahrenheit 451.
That's a good choice as well. So I'm actually going to be in El Salvador next Friday, so I won't be able to be on book club. So
let's save it for another week then.
Save for another week. Okay. So,
yep.
so
I'll figure out something
postponing book club or you're gonna do a book club with Cass.
We will do Hijacking Bitcoin by Roger Ver.
Oh, you motherfucker. I want to be
fine. We won't do that one either then.
Damn it. That's so you're picking all these good, man. Why
Let's do green eggs and ham. Call it now. We're doing green eggs and ham.
April 1st has gone and passed. I'm sorry, Cass. All right,
but we can do it again. We need to revisit it. It's one of those ones that's got to go back.
I'll figure something else out. I'll figure something else out. Folks, if you want to find out what I'm...
real quick, would you be interested in redoing the Speed of Trust?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
Unless Will wants to be there for it.
That's a great book. And I would love to catch the replay, and I will read the book, and then I'll chit chat with you guys once I get back from El Salvador. So I'll be there. I'll be there in spirit, but that's a great book. That's a good one. See if you can get RG3 on for that.
I was going to say, I'll reach out and see if we can get a special guest for it.
Yeah. Cause I know he likes that one. All right. Sweet.
He was the one that recommended it to me. So
goddamn right. Yeah. I remember that was his first stream with us. I believe that he recommended that back in the green room, but
the old days, if you will.
So the folks can find you at ZenithDI on X and Instagram. And then, is there anything else that you're doing in the near future? Any other streams or any cool stuff?
We always got stuff going on here. You can find about it first in the Telegram. Scan the QR code to my stage left, if you will. Find out all the latest and greatest over there. We are doing our Sunday show, our flagship news show on Sunday. Spoiler alert, it's still Tariff Week apparently, but also Paul Atkins got confirmed as chair of the SEC. So we'll talk about all of that and the implications and what could be coming down the pike in the near future. Outside of that, though, we do have our Wednesday show coming up. Will and I are trying to line up a special guest for it, I believe, or I'm thinking of a different week. We'll have something planned for Wednesday. So be here or be square. And then, like we said, Friday after that, we're going to do our redo of The Speed of Trust because we think it is a very, very important book. And we didn't quite feel like we did it justice early on. I think that was like our fourth book club or something. So that was back in the early days when we were still learning how to read and do the whole English thing, but it is what it is. Outside of that, I'm going to be streaming on Monday night with the Walk the Block crew, 8 p.m. Eastern time, like all the rest of our streams here at DGen Roundtable. And that is all I got. Mr. Will Stevenson, please take us out.
Excellent. All right. So for the folks at home, for those of you who don't know where you can find me, all of my socials are linked at my Pulse domain, will.pls.fyi. You can find my Twitter, my Instagram, my YouTube, or not my YouTube, it's this YouTube. You can find like all the socials are over there at will.pls.fyi. So that's where all of my stuff is. Again, Zenith stuff is over here, Zenith the Eye, DGen Roundtable, t.me/DRT join now. Those are all of our socials and things. As far as stuff I've got going on in the near future, I'm going to El Salvador with Dr. Chen here for next week. So we're going to be gone the whole week down there, kicking ass, taking names, conquering those second world countries as quick as we can to turn them into the brand new Hexaco. I know that the Bitcoiners think that they can take over El Salvador, but not if I have anything to say about it. And I do. So I'm gonna go down there and see what we can do, and we'll meet some people, shake some hands, kiss some babies, do some great stuff. And then I will be back in the States sometime around Easter or thereabouts, maybe before, maybe after, who knows, we'll see. So I will not be on the Wednesday stream for next week, and I will not be on the Friday stream. I should be back in time to make the Sunday one. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be able to make the Sunday one, but if I'm not able to, I'll let you guys know. So for the folks at home, you guys can find us streaming here on the DGen Roundtable. We are live at Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. So that's midnight to 2 in the morning from London, and that's 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. if you're over on the West Coast, Best Coast in the United States. So those are our show times. You guys can catch us here on youtube.com/@DGen Roundtable or over on X. Or you can sometimes catch us dual casting on Alan's show whenever we got him on. So with that being said, that's all that we've got going on. That's all that I've got going on. Reminder, everybody, none of the stuff that we talk about on this show is financial advice. None of this stuff is health advice. None of this stuff is life advice. So that's for all of you to see and none of you to do anything or sue us with. And with that being said, I want to thank all of you for spending your valuable time with us here on the DGen Roundtable. As Agent J often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate you investing it right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Stevenson, but more importantly, you have been watching the DGen Roundtable. Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready, because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to DGen responsibly.